What's up, my naysayers? It's Sadot the Gamer. We're back once again for the Aftershow podcast. I'm joined, of course, by my co-host JayShock. Wait a minute, that's not JayShockblast. How'd you get here? This is
Thank you for
our.
having me.
Thank you for coming. This is our special co-host for the week. The man, the myth, the legend, the industry insider we love the most. Sorry, Jeff Grubb. Miller Ross.
Hey, I'm just at my office right now. I'm just making some coffee. I got a long work day ahead of me.
Miller, aka Parappa the Rapper, is joining us for this week. JayShockblast, like he said last week, won't be here. He is on a very special and secret business trip in Salt Lake City, Utah right now. He's posting pictures right now on Twitter with some wrestlers. So, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You can guess what's going on over there. But we're going to hold this show down in his place and possibly replace him in the future. Who knows? We always love having Miller here. So any excuse I could come up with to get Miller here, I was like, that's definitely better than just taking a day off. I'm just having Miller hang out. And what a week to have him hang out. We got a lot of stuff happened. Suicide Squad dropped their first significant patch, which let's say had mixed results. They just dropped a new update earlier today. A new blog post is part of their new Dev Weekly update. So we're going to go over that, go over everything. And of course, Miller is the guy who has all the tea on Suicide Squad. So we'll talk a little bit about that. No major story spoilers, but the game, funny enough, spoiled some of the upcoming DLC characters themselves. so not so fair. I say it's fair game. We'll also talk about Xbox. They had that highly anticipated event earlier this week after all the rumors about them porting their games over to PS5 hit, and we're going to break those down, specifically the 4 as well as the 4 games that we know from reports that are coming to PlayStation 5 from Xbox. And as a bonus, because every time Miller's here, got to get his insights on this. Crystal Dynamics was in the news. They revealed some art for their new Lara Croft for their upcoming Tomb Raider game being built in Unreal Engine 5. It's pretty much, I think, the only company from Embracer that's actually doing anything right now. Everyone else is getting laid off left and right. So, and I think
that DICE Awards moment was brutal.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the DICE Awards because, oh boy, that was a thing. Appreciate everyone in chat. Shout out to Cap Tay, who was first. Congratulations, my friend. Last of understanding. Hello, Marvel 003. What's up, Scully Dice, Wolf Nation, Divine Shine. I know he's been going through it as an Xbox enjoyer. What's up, Charles D Savage? Billy, appreciate you. We're live on both YouTube and Twitch. You can also listen to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Amazon, all that good stuff. Definitely would appreciate you if you're on the Apple side. Go over there, give us a 5-star. It helps a lot. So, Mr. Ross, now I got you here, we got to talk about your latest obsession after transitioning from the wonders of Marvel's Avengers.
Oh boy.
We got Suicide Squad now. So now you've admittedly you fell in love. That's why you're mainly doing all your data mining stuff for Suicide Squad. But as we've all noticed, not the best start to in a lot of ways. Definitely overblown to some degree. I think this game definitely sold better than people are trying to make it out to, but a lot of technical problems, as is pretty much standard at this point for live service games that launch always online. it's inevitable, those servers. But they dropped the patch. People were waiting for this patch to address certain issues like people not being able to log in. Our buddy Doomkiller HD was one of those people. He couldn't log in for a week, despite the fact that he got the early access, couldn't play early or late. But they got him situated. Still a lot of people who aren't situated. Multiplayer in general has a ton of problems, and people were looking forward to this patch. And unfortunately, the only thing in the patch was basically nerfs and fixes for exploits that were benefiting the player, such as the infinite XP glitch with the Toy Man, the Gizmo vehicle farm, and of course they nerfed burn into the ground, as well as one benefit for the players was they lowered the enemy health scaling and mastery levels, but they also buff damage done by those enemies without actually doing anything about damage reduction, which is also completely broken and has been since launch. So there's a lot of stuff to fix, and I no surprisingly, as we've seen from Avengers, when you have a ton of problems going on with the game and you release a patch that doesn't address those problems, but instead, breaks some other stuff and mainly there's the players, people aren't happy. They dropped a new blog aimed at kind of explaining themselves. This was going to be part of their now weekly developer update, and they reiterated what they said in Discord. Basically, there are two teams. They're different teams. Their design team was able to do the combat fixes and stuff like that because that doesn't require extensive coding, but they have another team working on all those other issues. They mentioned that they are looking to do some other stuff. Specifically, they want to make it easier or at least more interesting to get the currency required to go into those incursion missions. So they're going to have you basically do those raising hell quests throughout the city, and those are going to reward you a bunch of Prometheum. They're also finally listening to us about the boom modifier as well as affliction immunity, and considering buffing some legendary items. So Miller, based on what you've seen so far, what do you think? What do you think of the patch? I know you were trying to do some data mining, didn't find much, but what do you think of the patch and the reception?
I mean, I think my knee-jerk reaction was like, oh god, Avengers did that a couple times and had to get smacked for it.
Yeah.
But like the comments really illuminated, no, this happens a lot. Like Diablo 4 did that famously. Like it's very, I think Halo did that too. It's a bad look, and it's bizarre to me that like Lemmings, they do it one after another.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's I mean, it's if I'm, like one of the things that I think we found so impressive about Suicide Squad was how much it seemed like they had kind of reacted to other games in the
Yeah.
space, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
improved where they were lacking. And this is one area where they just walked right into the same trap. And it's sad because, like, really, if we're splitting off the leaderboards anyway, then why did it have to happen now? Especially when they say, like, oh, we do have a fix for one of the major issues, but we got the fix right after we'd already locked in this patch. So it's like, why didn't the patch wait until at least one of those major issues were resolved?
Yeah.
Like,
Why did
truly.
yeah, well,
And
it
I mean,
wasn't like it was a immediate need. Apart, the people were just doing their burn farming, mind their own business. That could have waited. most
totally.
most people aren't in game. The end game, the overwhelming majority of people playing this game are not playing mastery level 60 anyway. So,
I literally still haven't even finished the campaign. I'm like, just before the Brainiac fight, I'm like really excited. I'm going to stream it tonight. I'm so ready. But it's like, I have a life. Like a lot of people have lives, not
yeah.
everybody, but
Yeah,
like
yeah, not me.
it
I do this. I do this for a living, so I'm at mastery,
like
and I'm at
we
mastery
can't
85.
all be Jon Snow,
Yeah,
not
exactly.
just magically mastery level 700 whatever. Like
Yeah,
it
exactly.
I mean, it's just so silly. And I think the thing that gets me is it's like a really unforced error, you know? Like nobody forced their hand here. Nobody was begging for these fixes right away. Like
Yeah, yeah,
there
the
the
the opposite
demand was
actually. The
yeah, like
opposite.
I don't get it. And the thing is too, at least what happened with Avengers was like there would be something that I could focus on. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
oh, here's
skins.
some new skins. Like,
Yeah.
because they're doing the weekly skins, right? Like, oh, what's cooking with the skins? And like, oh, there's this thing that I'm tracking behind the scenes.
Mhm.
And from a data mining perspective, like there's none of it. None of it. And the only thing that they launched with the only change outside of like, the nerfs and exploit fixes is that they dropped a bunch of new color swatches on the store that were already announced and shown off in the Insider
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah, I
So
remember
it's like
yeah, yeah, I was like, "Oof."
that falls under the category of who cares? Like I can't detract attention with that. Like I can't like one of the benefits of having me around is that I can like create a diversion. You know,
Yeah.
like from a PR perspective, I can be like, "Oh, like there's this, oh my god, look at this, look at this." So like you got to have some spoonful of sugar to help that medicine go down and there's nothing. And
At all.
it's like
Yeah,
and
also,
it
yeah,
don't get me
I
wrong, like
I
the
heard they also,
it
raised the
oh
prices
please.
of the swatches, didn't they?
They okay, so like it seems like this is really fucking stupid by the way. It seems like internally there's some because like one thing about Avengers is like all the cosmetics had rarities. And
Right.
cosmetics having rarities is stupid as shit because
Yes.
it's just an excuse like fan interest never aligns with it, so it always looks arbitrary. Like there's always some cheap skin that everybody loves and a lot of expensive ones that look like shit.
Yeah,
You know what
exactly.
I mean? Like tying the prices to some like arbitrary rarity is stupid as fuck and transparent and it's just more economy building bullshit that everybody hates. So, like, surprise surprise, these color swatches, they don't really advertise this, but there is like a scaling price value associated with them. So the
Oh,
fancier ones are going to cost more apparently.
that
And
makes
it's
sense.
like but it does it cuz they're ugly. Like
Yeah, no, I
and
mean,
also too like
it explains the price hike because 'cause I'm like, because 'cause I'm looking at 'em like, because I'm like, what, like, it's not, they're not new skins, but I recognize the Deadshot one, which I think is pretty much the only one people bought, the fire one.
mm,
The rest were just like, whatever. But I saw people comment. I'm like, are we doing what?
like honestly, I would see so much more value in the color swatches because keep in mind like there's 3 color swatches and they're like I need $15. You know what I mean? So it's like but they're not universal. Like I would get so much more value out of them if they were universal, if they could be applied like not across characters, but across all of a character's skins, you know? And I
Mm,
understand that that's like a lot of work, but it's like a fair amount of money. Like I mean, if you think about it, right? Avengers was popping like a recolor on the shop. Like also too, what's up with the bundles? We gotta buy
ye-
everything in fucking bundles? I can't just get a skin, I gotta buy the bundle? Oh, it
yeah,
comes with these 3 ugly colors you'll never use. Like, fuck that. That's
yeah,
awful. And it, like, inflates the price for no reason, and I get it, like, I get why they do it, but I get why I hate it, and I
yeah,
hate it.
yeah. I get
Like
like, I think the only thing you can get like individually are like the emotes, but other than that, like in terms of the actual cosmetics, yeah, they definitely, and I'm assuming they're gonna have like individual stuff on the battle pass, but I'm not sure.
mm.
Appreciate
That
that.
would've been nice if
Appreciate
they'd had a fucking trailer out about that or something.
that
Like,
would
talk
be
about the
nice.
battle pass if it's so great. Like, there's nothing to talk about. The only thing we have to talk about with Suicide Squad is a dumbass patch. And like, one of the things that killed me about Avengers that I always said was like, stick to your guns. Like, the problem is that they're too liquid. Like, they're not sticking to any decision that they're making. They're just stuck in place being like, "Can I go this way? No. Okay, can I go this way? No." Like they weren't going anywhere and it was very annoying. I appreciate that this statement is them like sticking to their guns. Like this is why we did this. Like take it or leave it. You know what I mean? And it's like in a vacuum that's great, but like it doesn't help the state of the game at all. I will say one thing though. You're goddamn right they put this on the website because they've been putting these on Discord. And like, don't get me wrong, Discord's great. I love Discord, but like, you got to put it in multiple places. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, if you want people to see it, like, it was killing me how many statements were like, "Oh, here's Kane Sinopoulos on Twitter, on their personal Twitter. Here's Derek on his personal Twitter," and it's like nobody's gonna see that. Like,
yeah.
you're not selling the game on your Twitter, sir. Like you're selling, you know what I mean? Like put that other places. So on the bright side, they did that where they finally put these on the website. Thank God. But like I I don't
and,
know.
and you know, credit where credit's due. They said they were going to do these weekly updates, and you know, we'll see if they stick to them. You know,
I
famously,
mean, that's better than
Avengers.
Avengers ever did. They were like,
I mean,
here's the
Avengers.
weekly modifiers. And there'd be
So,
like 7 paragraphs that were just copy and pasted from last week about like, this is what electricity complex modifier does, where your electric attack. It's like,
it was
ugh.
at a certain point, it was mostly just advertisements for the shop too.
No,
Like,
seriously. I remember there was over the holiday break one year, they didn't have a blog because everybody was off. And so I wrote the blog, just like copying and pasting from the previous weeks. And it was like easy. Like I literally just inspect elemented and tossed the stuff in and made like a video. It was funny. But like I appreciate that. I appreciate like the candor, like, you know, but also too, like weekly developer update. Here's why we did the patch the way we did. Like I like okay, the stuff about the legendaries, like that's great, but it's like you are working on more than that.
so,
Like,
and to be fair, you know, not only did they, you know, concede on one of the things like, you know, the boom modifier, the afflictions, but I made a lengthy list of issues after playtesting the patch, you know, thoroughly. I put it on my Twitter. It was a lot, very visible. A lot of people reacted to it, including the game director. So at the very least, they're engaged and
love
open
that.
and open to actual ideas and critiques. You know, it's not a situation where it's just like, oh, you're criticizing, we're not going to talk to you ever. Yeah, you know, they actually, as long as
Yeah,
you're not
that's
being toxic,
great.
they'll actually listen to you and give their insights. You know, I have another dev who will like try to follow up and get some more information about certain things to try to kind of understand where I'm coming from. So all that is great, and it's why we keep going. But yeah, just going forward, yeah, if they can address these this gameplay stuff I went over, and also, you know, get those major things fixed, it it will ultimately be done. But unfortunately, this is all going to come down once again to season one. And it's going to kind of, to me, I kind of view this as similar to Superman Legacy, where you basically have one shot at this because
Mhm.
everybody expects you to fail, or and it's going to be pretty big. You know, James Gunn has, you know, more leeway, but Suicide Squad, you know, is already, people have been coordinating to just, you know, bring the game down. I mean, they're even catching strays at the Dice Awards
Oh.
of, of all places. Greg Miller had to bail the situation out by dunking on the Embracer Group, but yeah, just the fact that they would take a shot at the community manager at an award show is like, what are we doing here? Like, why? Like, I didn't realize just how many crazy Arkham fans they were, because people really have it out for this game. Like, regardless of the legitimate issues, just like people will literally just make stuff up to be mad about. They just
Yeah.
don't want
I'm
this game to
still
succeed.
seeing shit about the like like I forget who it was. I think it was actually somebody in your replies that was like one of the developers that was like engaging with you, like you just said about like
Yeah.
yeah, like the issues you were talking about. And there was like somebody like deep in the quotes or replies or something that was going on about the borderline pedophilia. It's like we're still talking about that. Oh my God. It
But yeah,
people really
the
don't
Ivy's
they
the
don't need an
so weird.
excuse, you know?
No, yeah, they'll look for anything. So that's why that's why I was more disappointed by the update, because I knew, okay, they locked this in already, so they're probably not going to do this right. But they, you know, said even beforehand, you know, let us know your feedback about it. And I want to make sure, in particular, I want to make sure I wanted to make sure I had listed everything as articulately as possible, especially emphasizing the damage reduction. It's bad. Like there's a section in the blog where he's talking about, oh yeah, we wanted to nerf those defensive mods because we
Oh,
want
I know.
we want you to be able to skillfully avoid damage. So that's why damage reduction on those are reduced to 90%. So you still have to dodge, but put some other stuff in damage reduction. There's some positive synergies. I'm like, no, none of that works. That's what I told him before this patch. Like, it literally doesn't work. Like, that's why people were using those mods, because everything else was just completely useless, no matter how much damage reduction. Like, literally, even with the nerf, you're getting a 90% in damage reduction, right? So as a test, I was like, okay, I got the new turtle. It's 90% damage reduction, and then I modded onto that piece an additional 15% damage reduction. So by my math, that adds up to immunity, right? For 5 seconds at a time or more. Tell me why I got hit by a normal grunt, and I had 2 bars of shield, and all of it disappeared. I was like, yo, this ain't it. This is not it at all. So I knew there was going to be some issues, and it was unfortunate because I was like, oh man, people are really looking forward to this patch, and I know it's going to be disappointing, and people are just going to make it out to be worse than it is. And I'm just like, ugh. I really want them to get wins, but yeah, this overall patch was definitely an L, but the response is at least much better, and I'm glad that they still seem active and open.
I mean, that's how we get to a good place. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So I appreciate that. Like, when things are going well, I'll rave about it from the rooftops, Like,
absolutely.
I've been on this show talking about how much I love this game. Like, I'm in. But, like, when things are bad, like, I mean, I'm not PR, you know what I mean? Like, if they're bad, you kinda clock it as bad. Otherwise, your compliments don't mean anything, you know?
Exactly. And to their credit, like when things got bad with Avengers, they disappeared. Like, we didn't
Yeah,
hear
they were
from them.
gone.
We didn't hear from them for the first 2 months after
No.
launch. They didn't even start. I think they didn't even start the weekly blogs until like year 2.
No, the
Like,
blogs were early on, but, like, there
I,
wasn't anything in them, and
like
I do think they started, like, week 12 or something, I don't know.
yeah. I mean, like the weekly developer updates. Oh, this is what we're working on. I think that was like a
Oh,
year.
yeah, they started those in the blog much later, but then they weren't weekly because there wasn't anything to talk about every week.
Yeah, and then eventually they just took it out, and it was just a skin ad. We're like, oh,
Yeah.
look at our marketplace, look at our photo mode, and that's it. So, but when things were going, when they thought they were cooking, they had some momentum. Oh, they were all over the socials, they were doing it there. But but to Suicide's credit, when things are bad, and they've been bad, they've been in the trenches. They're committed to seeing this game through. So I applaud them for not just taking their ball and going home, and like, no, we have something here. We obviously have some interested players, and I don't think they would really. I don't think WB at least wouldn't have them do that if if they didn't see some potential here in terms of the player numbers, because I know people keep bringing up Steam, but as I have to remind people every time, most people don't play on Steam. The Steam charts
Yeah,
aren't
it's a
aren't
different platform. Some
aren't
games succeed on PC, some bomb, and that's really rarely relative to their overall success, like,
yeah, it's silly every time. Like, people keep bringing up Arkham Knight, and I'm like, bro, and that's why I took a screenshot of the Arkham City Steam charts. I'm like, bro, Arkham City has on Steam all time peak of 7,000 players. Currently, there's literally 0 players, 1 player playing the last 24 hours, but the game sold over 12 million units. Like, you can't use Steam for everything, and especially if it's not like the games that typically are high performers on Steam, which tend to be almost exclusively PvP games, particularly survival and FPS type games. That's pretty much most of what you see, trending on those Steam charts. And Suicide Squad is such a console game that literally, if you get on the PC version, it tells you to get a controller.
And this is why Sony put so much money into this game and why they do it, because they want to make their platform the place to play games. So it's like, why are we surprised when games do, especially games that Sony invests in? Why are we then surprised when Sony platform does the best?
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
A great point, Billy. Division 2 had a similar peak on Steam, and it's in year 5. It's just some games do well. People, they will have you believe that there's 2,000 people playing Suicide Squad when for all from through December all the way up to early access launch, it was the most pre-ordered game in the PlayStation Store.
Really?
I was tracking this because it was fascinating. The deluxe edition of Suicide Squad is the most pre-ordered game of 2024 so far. It beat out literally everything by far. I was checking those rankings every couple of weeks just to check, and it never left. In fact, the standard edition crept up into that top 10, but it was ahead of the Last of Us 2 remastered, Tekken 8, way ahead of Helldivers 2, Final Fantasy Rebirth, Persona 3 Reloaded. It was number one the entire time. And then it drops on Steam, and people are like, "Oh, that's all who's like." That doesn't make any sense.
I really feel like, I mean, the thing about Avengers that killed it in terms of reputation regarding player count that still follows it to this day is when Square Enix did their quarterly numbers that ended at the end of September, and the game launched early that September, right?
Right.
And so the game had sold 3 million units that month, and they expensed a bunch of the development costs, and they're strategic about it and blah 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 blah, right? And that it sold 3 million copies, followed it forever, but that was before its first holiday season, where by most accounts the game did it was the third best selling Xbox game that quarter, quarter 4. It did really well. And so it just really I wish that they'd be a little more transparent about that, because to me, being secretive about that really hurt Avengers' reputation. But at the same time, um, I think maybe it would be wise to wait until the game gets a holiday season. I don't know. Because the end of this year,
Yeah.
the updates are very eye-catching, you know?
Yeah. Maybe I say maybe they wait for season after season 1 drops to be like, hey, this is how much we sold, because
Mhm.
season 1's supposed to be a lot of hype. There's supposed to be a lot of new stuff coming, a lot of new content, a lot of momentum potentially. So if this launch of season 1 goes well, then you can double down on that by saying, oh, and by the way, this is how much we've sold. That's probably what they'd be waiting for, because they probably are expecting a spike in sales when the Joker hits the game, which is probably why they started with the Joker.
You know?
You-
I mean, I think that's the solution, honestly, is a milestone sales figure and announcing it, because the numbers are gonna get out there eventually anyways.
yeah,
Like
I personally would not be surprised if Suicide Squad has sold at least 2 million by now, maybe even 3.
I really can't imagine it hasn't.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the numbers. I already went over. It's available on 3 platforms. It was the number 1 pre-order game on PlayStation by far. Both the deluxe edition was number 1. The standard was ended up being top 10. So I looked at the games we do have hard numbers for, and Helldivers 2 was 1 million across both platforms, carried heavily by PC. Steam, then it was Tekken 8, 2 million. Both games that were well behind Suicide Squad on PlayStation. So I'm thinking it has to be in that range, like 2 to 3, maybe even 3 million.
I mean, the question really to me comes down to legs, because that's where reputational stuff does
Yeah,
damage. Like
yeah,
it
yeah. Because and even Hell and it had a similar situation in Helldivers 2, where they didn't have any reviews published before before launch, and
Yeah.
they had to delay that, so that those were delayed coming out as well. I know there was a ton of interest on early access day. In fact, there was at one point there was well over 100,000 people in the Twitch category watching Suicide Squad because everyone was streaming it, and we don't know how much they were momentum they were to get. I mean, obviously we know the critics panned it, but even though the Steam numbers were low, 80+% approve. The same with the Xbox, same with the PlayStation, all actual high user scores. So the people who bought it enjoyed it for the most part. So then the question is, how many people that were on the fence were convinced by what they saw? We'll get to see how that plays out later on. But I think a lot of people now may be waiting for that next big update to really dive in and see what they made of, because season 1 is going to be like the first indication of what to expect from this game going forward. What kind of quality content updates we're going to be expecting. So there's going to be a lot of eyes on it, and definitely some sales being driven. But if they nail it, then we're good. But if not,
I know it. All eyes on them. I really, really hope QVK is coming in season 1. Like that would, I think, like we talked about, like, oh, PvP games, like
yeah.
it's a huge door to open for the game. Like I know that there's a place for it, like in the narrative. I sincerely, sincerely hope that they go through with it.
I have no idea where they would put that, but because it definitely could come in season 1, or at least the question then is, will it be season 1 episode 1, or would they save that for episode 2?
I mean, I just hope they announce it soon.
At least
Like
announce it for sure. Yeah.
let us know when to expect it. There's a
Yeah.
lot of things that I wish would get announced.
Yeah. What do you like? Steven brings up the raids. They were teasing a little bit of that on the old Twitter. I know you know about the PvP stuff. Did you see anything about raids?
Honestly, no. The only like mode that I have observed that isn't in at launch that I can definitively say is like a totally different mode of play is QVK, which is
Okay.
the PvPvE mode. So I have not spotted anything to do with raids, honestly.
So it's probably something still in development that wasn't in any of the earlier builds yet.
Yeah, there's a lot that's omitted, honestly. Like there's a ton that they worked on that just isn't
Right.
in the public client. Like it's really just things that slip through the cracks. So I don't have, like a perfect eye shot of everything, of course.
But that PvP would be very, very interesting to add. It would be nice little. I think given the momentum that they need, I would probably go and drop that, or at least announce it if it's ready. If it's not ready, in at the start of season at the start of season 1.
Yeah.
If it's ready, I would definitely drop it, because they said on the roadmap it's new gear, new up. It's going to have I think the Two-Face gear and Scarecrow gear, and then new enemy variants, 6 new incursion missions. And I'm just like, well, I'll just be like, oh yeah, new game mode 2, new Joker, new game, new map, PvP. Let's do this. Like I would front load as much as possible, because
Mhm.
if I'm them, I'm like, we need this season 1 to start to be a banger, because March is going to be already crazy. Like new game plus for Spider-Man 2 is dropping on the 7th. Then you got Rise of the Ronin, you got Dragon's Dogma 2. It's going to be a busy month for gaming, so they definitely want to be on it. Like I don't know when they plan
Mhm.
on releasing it. I was worried that it might be a situation where Spider-Man 2's update and Suicide Squad drops on the same day, but since they haven't announced a release date yet, I can't imagine they would choose to drop it the same day as Spider-Man 2. Like that would be insane, right?
I mean, I'm curious. I think the secret really does lie in the Twitch drops. Like those got delayed a couple days, like, which is really
Mhm.
interesting. Like they sort of that to me seems like it is going to come out once the Twitch, like Joker is probably planned for as soon as the Twitch drops end,
So
because he does have an on.
when's the last Switch
Um,
drop?
well, the King Shark ones end tonight.
Right.
Um, so your last chance to get them if you don't have them. And then tomorrow starts. I want to say it's the Deadshot or the Boomer ones.
Mhm.
Um, but I believe those 2 weeks are now like 9 days. So I think it ends on the 6th now, like the last one. And Joker has an unannounced Twitch drop skin. So I have to imagine that they would time that to his release to like incentivize stream. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
ooh, get
Oh yeah.
out there.
Yeah. So yeah, Savage says 3/6. So 3/6 is the last day for the drops. Would they drop the DLC 3/7 then? Ooh.
Honestly, like I think the fact that they specifically like pushed that back 2 days, it just seems so arbitrary otherwise if it's not because of the timing for the season 1 drop.
Ooh, that would be spicy.
Like, why else would they? Why else would they like randomly pull 2 of the weeks of the Twitch drops
That's
like another
true.
day? That's just so
That's
random.
true. So, and don't the drops start at like early in the morning, like Eastern time, like 3?
Yeah, I think they're 2 o'clock in the morning. They switch over. There
All right.
was a weird thing with the first week where like there was just a day where there was no drop, which was really random. But
So would they drop the new season at around that time frame?
um see, that would be I feel like this patch being 7 a.m., I think is probably what they're targeting, you know?
Mhm. Damn. Because I was like, well, if it's a midnight release, then I'm good. But because
Yeah,
I got
see,
it,
like
I got to cover
Western
Spider-Man.
streamers are gonna have a problem with this, like in North America, you know? It's gonna be a very morning heavy game, I think.
This is tough because I gotta cover the Spider-Man, but if season 1 drops, I gotta cover season 1. So I was like, okay, well, if it's at midnight or 2 a.m., that's fine. I'll have people up.
You should
I'll
play
have
both at the same time,
Is that
you
possible?
know?
How's
Yeah, why
that?
not? I mean, well, if you'd have to have 2 consoles, you know, but
I don't have 2
y
consoles.
yeah, you need a second console, you need a second capture card, play them both at the same time, and try not to die. That can be your challenge.
That actually sounds crazy. So just buy another PS5 and
Yep,
and and another capture card and have a dual stream where I'm streaming both games at the same time.
right?
No,
You
no,
can
that'd
even
be
do, like, you know, when people do those tweets that are like, "Oh, like for this one and retweet for that one," you know, and it's like an informal poll. You could do something like that too.
that this sounds insane and expensive. But I like because
Oh,
I
get the PS5 from Walmart and then just return it the next day. Be like, "Oh, it's broken."
yeah, yeah, I think and then I think capture card is only like 150 or something like that. And I could, but this just sounds insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
My plan was like to stream like whatever comes earlier. Like if Suicide Squad was like early, I would just stream that for a while and then take a break, come back for Spider-Man 2. But yeah, this is gonna be tough.
Yeah. Maybe you can, like, bug Insomniac to get the Spider-Man thing early and then pre-record it.
Yeah, because that is a question. Like, when would Insomniac drop there? I know they wouldn't drop theirs at like midnight or anything. That would be like, may I guess like maybe 11, 10.
Mm.
And this is gonna be
You
this is
know, sleep on it. Think about it,
gonna be
you know? Sleep on it.
Yeah, this is good. Well, we'll have to. I'm gonna wait and get all the details, which we won't know the Insomniac details until closer to launch. And yeah, the Suicide Squad thing. I'm hoping that they just take a day and be like, we're gonna we're gonna drop it on the 8th.
Maybe. Hard to say.
They skip a day. Maybe they skip a day. Maybe they
I
drop
mean,
it on
like I
the 8th.
said, there was that day in between the first 2 weeks accidentally, I think, but you never know.
yeah, you never know. They might, yeah, they might decide, yeah, we'll take another mysterious break. Yeah, yeah, that would help me tremendously because I want to be able to dedicate uh, a bunch of time to both without having any without having any issues choosing one or the other. Because I think then Avengers, I know Avengers had a similar situation where they were launching around the same time as Gotham Knights that for their Winter Soldier update, right?
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I remember Gotham Knights announced their release date for their first DLC,
Wow,
and
I hear
then
Gotham Knights is gonna kill Avengers. Did you hear that?
I I did I did hear it was an Avengers killer.
Mm.
They dropped their DLC same day the Winter Soldier was dropping. So I mean we know, I mean literally we saw what happened after Winter Soldier drop. Avengers died. So who, I guess they were the Avengers killer.
Yeah, no, Gotham Knights gets a lot of shit, but they did kill Avengers.
I mean it's undeniable. They dropped they dropped their DLC same day as Winter Soldier, and that was their last the actual DLC. The last update they did was that final goodbye patch, and then Gotham Knights got another DLC right after that. So they did in
Yeah, it's
fact kill
true.
Avengers.
That was the one that did it. Uh,
You're off the hook, Miller, because people blame you. So some people blame you for killing for killing
oh my god.
Avengers.
I mean, frankly, like, wouldn't that be funny? But no.
It would be like, especially how much you like actually love the game and we're trying to make it better. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean
It's a
it
fine
it,
line between
it was
death
the
and
yeah. I think you more so you announce the death before they could. Is
that's
is
true. And I
is
mean,
what you
I often think about that. And I
yeah you
mean, I think I don't know, I think I earned that.
yeah if anyone was going to pronounce the death of Avengers, it should have been you, like because you were the main
Oh,
reason.
thank you.
You're literally the main reason a lot of people even cared about the game, myself included. Like
Wow.
I would not have been following the game as like I probably wouldn't even been covering the game if it wasn't for your leaks and your updates, because I played it. I was on the Reddit and everything like that, and I was like, oh man, this is ass. This is cooked. Like they disappeared. There was no communication. I'm like, bro, what is happening? And I was like, all right, I guess we out. And then I see all your stuff about stuff that's coming up. I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe that kept me engaged with the community, which in turn made me want to hop back on the game, especially when I heard something from you that was exciting. I'm like, oh, let me give the game, let me get back on the game. Let me wait it out. Let me see, because I knew something was coming. I knew it wasn't just over yet. And if it wasn't for that, I would have. I mean, I had Ghost of Tsushima. I didn't need to be on Avengers at all. Genshin came
Mhm.
out at that time. I literally did not need to Avengers. I could have jumped on any number of games, but because of you keeping this community together and locked in, I was like, okay, I'm riding this ride. Let's
It
see what
was
it
a
takes.
wild time, wasn't it?
It was insane. it
I
was
remember,
insane.
like, it was, like, at least once a month, something absolutely insane would happen, like,
Yeah,
without fail.
literally without fail. Even I'm. It seems funny now, but at the time it was just like one thing after another. Like it's crazy to me that there was an actual point where downloading an Avengers DLC would like show your IP address.
Yeah. Oh, that never gets old.
That was bro. I was so bad, bro. I was ready to
Oh, yeah,
stream that.
you were one of the ones that got hit by that, right?
Yeah, because it apparently it only affected PlayStation players, and I was all set to stream the that new Monica villain sector, and I was like, what the fuck is this on my screen?
That's
Um,
so funny, I could die. Like, that's, like, the most basic fucking like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, nobody's trying to fail, like, somebody oopsied and it happens. Oops. But damn, man, like it takes 5 seconds to notice that.
Yeah, that
Like,
was bad. Like that's definitely a situation where just no one checked.
mm-hmm.
I mean, it makes sense. They did get rid of like pretty much all their QA testers. That's why they had freaking Andy, the community manager, doing not only everyone's job on the social team, but also QA testing the actual content.
I know.
Oh, poor Eddie.
Yeah, they really needed to hire some people. But then
First,
they stopped.
firstly, Square was just like, "Nah, we're done." And then Embracer was like, "Yeah, we're even then, like even at that was a time where Embracer had completely imploded, and they were spending big money. Even they were just
Mhm.
like, "Yeah, we're not touching this."
No, well, I'll tell this story in full one day, but I'll tell you, the final nail in the coffin was Square Enix. Like,
They were the final nail in the coffin.
yes, like it.
So,
I'll,
you mean after the Embracer acquisition?
no, during. It's a long and complicated story, and I'll get to it in full one day. But the long and short of it is, basically Square Enix, like they had paid for the license like up to a certain date, right?
Right.
And um and they went to, as it's been explained to me, they went to Marvel Games and were like, "Hey, we don't want to pay this." And like, I know we're contracted to until a certain date, but we don't want to pay this. And Marvel Games were like, "Yeah, we can work something out." And so they basically like paid like a prorated up to a certain point. And so when the game like left Square Enix's hands, it was basically dead at that point. Like, could somebody theoretically have come along and spent a lot of money and had these conversations and like saved it? Yes, but like
They had
once the acquisition happened, it was on borrowed time.
because Embracer could have like in theory just been like, oh yeah, we're getting all these messages and questions about Avengers. Maybe we can do something here. So let's talk to Marvel Games. Let's get a new extension on that license
And they were
and
talking to Marvel Games about stuff. Everybody was. Like, that's not a secret now, I don't think.
yeah.
Clearly somebody's talked about that. But I mean, and they own Guardians of the Galaxy, which is very well received, which by the way, they're still paying for. Like, the license still going for that game, like
So they just chose to say fuck Avengers.
pretty much. But I mean, like it
That's
would
tough.
have been able to move on a little longer, but for that issue with Square Enix. And then Crystal
Be-
were basically like, well, let's just not ride this out.
Yeah, I mean they did. I mean, B Wags didn't help matters at all. that that situation.
Honestly, that last year was like just madness all around.
Oh, yeah, and it sucks that it's weird. It's actually weird now that what's up, Blazing Flame? It's weird now that Embracer is still paying for that Guardians license when they're like the actual game that they had idols working on is basically canceled because they had to fire
Yeah.
they fired people because the company's imploding. What is happening over there?
I mean, all eyes right now, there's a good segue on like their most valuable in development project, which is Tomb Raider.
Yeah,
And
not only is that a good segue, I have the perfect image for that segue.
oh, there she is.
There she is, unified Laura
Yeah,
from
something like that.
Call of Duty.
Yeah, she's great in that game.
Yeah, I mean, she look, credit where credit's due. Looks great, but
Really? Because I read online that her breasts are too small.
I mean, I mean, obviously, people are having spending way too much time on those Rule 34 places. I think I think she looks
Well,
great here. If obviously her cleavage isn't completely hanging out, but she looks like she. I mean, let's be honest. All those people saying her boobs weren't big enough. If she looking exactly like this walked up to them and said, "What's up?" They would cream themselves. let's be honest. Like they beggars absolutely cannot be choosers. They front on the internet, but we know the truth. So I'm not.
No,
I'm not.
I think they spilled. I think this is the woke feminist agenda. Yep.
This will like if this was part of the woke feminist agenda, she'd be wearing like for some reason armor, a long pants. She'd have a side shave haircut that's
Well, those
dyed blue.
shorts, I mean, are very dangerous in the jungle. Those shorts are gonna get her in trouble. She's gonna get some bites. She's gonna, get a rash.
Very impractical for the jungle. I mean, the boots are the right height, but but the exposed skin is definitely a problem in the jungle.
Yeah,
So
no, no,
very,
no. I hope you got your
very,
shots.
very impractical overall. But
Yeah, she needs
is
travel insurance, I think.
so is this the only actual game from Embracer that's coming out, which would be ironic because
Pardon?
this is an Amazon game technically.
I mean, well, look at Perfect Dark. They're working on that in collaboration with Microsoft, and that's a fucking dud too. Like,
I thought I
Crystal
already addressed it.
have a 99 problems.
I thought I already addressed this, but yeah, Embracer is not doing anything. I mean, they're literally. That's why I mentioned. That's why I brought
Well,
up the Guardians of the Galaxy thing. Like, would they actually buy get a Marvel license at this point when they're selling off all their studios?
I mean, that's it. I think they were working on something with Marvel. I don't know that they are anymore.
Yeah,
I
like
mean,
I know they had a lot
very
of
expensive.
plans.
Like, that was one of the things that fucked up Avengers, and it's one of the things that I say Suicide Squad has over Avengers,
Yeah,
is that they don't have to pay Marvel Games a huge, massive licensing fee. Like, it's way too much of a gamble to make a Marvel game because we've seen some fail, and if they fail, you're broke. Like,
well,
it's
I mean,
not a recipe for guaranteed success at a time when Embracer needs a guaranteed recipe for success.
we've
So I
also
just
seen. They also leaked the term. We also saw the terms of
Oh yeah.
the Insomniac Marvel deal, and
Yeah,
yeah,
and they get the sweetheart version of that too.
yeah, that's the good version. So imagine the not great version. So yeah, you're not only looking at paying a big licensing fee, which is annual, but you also have to pay them a cut of all your revenue off of it and deal with their red tape. So
Yeah, it's not
yeah,
fun for anyone involved except for Bill Roseman. Like,
yeah,
it's just, I mean, it's a miracle that many of the games have worked as well as they have.
yeah. I mean, if at this point, the only people that can afford really to gamble on the Marvel stuff are like really big publishers. Now, obviously, Embracer, when they were a big publisher, had those aspirations, but after they lost that $2 billion Saudi investment and went under, started selling off all their studios and canceling all their projects. Yeah, that all that Marvel stuff went completely out the window because now, how can they justify that to the shareholders when they how many people have been laid off so far? 1,400 this
And
year.
it's just not a surefire IP anymore. Like, there's blood in the water,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it,
it'd be one thing if they dropped the. I mean, right now, funny enough, the only Marvel things that's popping right now are X-Men and Daredevil. People reacted really well to the X-Men 97 trailer,
but I mean,
and
everybody reacted so well to the Snyderverse, like the Zack Snyder Justice League trailer, and like nobody watched it. You
well,
know what I
the
mean?
movie.
Like,
I mean, well, the movie's terrible, but
but my point is, like, I think they
that's
need to make money. Like, I think Marvel needs a couple more hits under the belt for
well, they're gonna
people to
get
flock to
one.
them. No, but I
They're
mean for
definitely.
people to flock to. I mean specifically in the gaming space, for
Oh, for
people to
sure.
flock to them the way that they were in 2019.
I
You know what I
mean, yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
it's
So
not
far,
2019 anymore.
the only consistent Marvel game hits have been Spider-Man from Insomniac. That's pretty much it. Which we just learned recently crossed the over $10 million, 10 million units sold. so
Very
so
impressive.
extremely impressive. They're almost halfway to what Spider-Man PS4 sold in like 4 or 5 years, and it's
Mhm.
only been out since October. So they're off to a good start. But everything else, yeah, Midnight Suns underperformed. That didn't hit for them. and it remains to be seen with those EA Marvel games, which would make sense, when you think of everything involved. Like EA is a giant publisher, so they can definitely afford to take some swings on a couple Marvel projects. That's why they're going with big name Marvel characters as well. Black Panther, Iron Man.
I gotta have my computer upgraded by then because I'm so excited at the prospect of using Prey Dog's Unreal VR injector in Iron Man because it's
Uh,
in Unreal. I'm so excited for that.
that'd be sick. Now, do you have any inclination about? Have you ever heard some whispers, perhaps, about what that third EA Marvel game is going to be?
No, I didn't even know that there was one.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, now I'm
No.
breaking. Now I'm breaking news to Miller. So,
Oh,
so
that's cool.
this will probably never happen again. But Miller, yeah, the terms of the specific terms of the deal was at least 3 games with Marvel and EA. The first was Iron Man, in which was in play testing as early as I believe 2022, late 2022, and Black Panther game, which is relatively early in development. That's supposed to be out. I would guess Iron Man has the potential to drop in 2025. Black Panther, which so far as we know is going to be like a create your own Black Panther type of game, that takes place after the previous one died. That's supposed to be 2026. And the third one, I haven't been able to get any identity. Apparently, it was so early, at least as far as last year is concerned, it was still so early in development. Because I actually asked Jeff Grubb this directly, and he gave me an answer. And it's
Oh, la-di-da.
yeah, just throwing that in there. Says Jay's not here to flex.
Wow.
And it's still so early that they hadn't picked one yet. Like they're still deciding which one. They were still deciding which character they're going to build around. But
Well, they've got to do a Daredevil game.
yeah, to me, like I thought Thor would be a great choice.
Would it?
Yeah, Thor is
I
awesome.
mean, I feel like people don't love the Thor IP as much as they say they do.
I feel like they do, and they would love the game because I think the game has a lot of potential. But if you're going for try to capitalize on what has momentum, absolutely, Daredevil, big name right now. Deadpool, big name right
Oh,
now.
yeah, yeah.
And
That's who did that Deadpool game, by the way?
who did? I forgot offhand.
It was
Whatever.
published by a major, right? Wasn't it
I
Ubisoft or EA?
pretty sure it was under Activision because the studio that
Oh,
currently made that Daredevil game is currently a support studio for Call of Duty.
oh, Activision. Yeah, High Moon Studios.
Yeah,
Thank
High
you.
Moon. Yeah, because yeah, I remember me and Jay were actually talking about High Moon recently because we wanted a new Deadpool game. But yeah, X-Men, Deadpool's, Daredevil are like hot names right
Yeah,
now.
but they're locked in right now with the Sony contract. The Sony contract.
Yeah. So,
So
but
they're
you
not
can't.
going
Yeah,
anywhere near that.
you can't do X-Men, and so we still had that rumor from this was a leak from 4chan back in 2020. They said this post said there was in development a Marvel's Wolverine game that was going to be kind of like a God of War style semi open world game, and open world Daredevil game that were in talks of being in the works, supposedly in the works. And then the year
Wow,
after
4 years later, they still haven't made their mind up?
yeah, so it's crazy. The year after, the following year after that 4chan post hit, Wolverine got revealed by Insomniac, but we never got a Daredevil reveal. There was that belief that potentially that Ubisoft might be doing something because they had that tease where those
Oh, right.
remember that went viral, that those mocap artists that were working on
Yeah.
Ubisoft, they were doing a session and they had the Marvel placard, and and it had
Forgot about that.
it had B Tariq on there as director. At the time, he was supposed to be doing the Blade movie, but he got kicked off. He got fired from that project. But Ubisoft quickly came out and said that they weren't doing a Blade game because people thought, because they saw Basim Tariq's name, that they were making a Blade game. But they didn't deny that they were making a Marvel game. They just said they're not making a Blade game.
Interesting.
But we haven't. But they haven't
Ubisoft is
announced
such a
anything yet.
leaky ship, though. Like, I'm surprised
Yeah.
we haven't heard more if it's them.
Yeah, I've seen
Because,
a ton of leaked stuff from Ubisoft, and I haven't seen anything yet about
I
a
heard, like,
Marvel project.
personally, like, literally, I used to have, like, friends on campus that were, oh god, I shouldn't say. Okay, never mind. I'm not gonna finish that story. But basically, yeah, it's very easy to get information on Ubisoft. I'll just put it that way.
Okay, yeah. So, because I know a bunch of their Assassin's Creed projects and stuff leaked already, so we have like kind of their full roadmap. But yeah. Have you heard anything more about the Marvel thing, or is that
I mean,
going?
I've heard some things about Marvel games, but they're not positive.
Well,
Um,
obviously,
no, I
is
mean,
it
like,
less positive than usual? Less positive
I
than
do
usual.
know of one project that got canceled,
Okay,
and yeah, I would be murdered by a specific person if I talked about it. But I can
fair.
just say, yeah, I heard of one project that was canceled.
Fair enough.
Um,
I'm in a similar position. I know of a
oh,
very prominent DC video game that was in development that got canceled, that I'm sworn to secrecy about.
we're sworn to secrecy about a couple things with
Yeah.
DC,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. It's unfortunate how stuff doesn't end up working out, but yeah. So that's one. Is that really it then? Because I'm thinking of all the Marvel games in development.
there's definitely more stuff. Like, I
There's a
don't
lot.
really know. Like, I don't have like a guy at Marvel Games that I'm like, yo, is this real? You know what I mean? Like, I don't have
You
a
gotta
Marvel
do
Games guy.
you gotta do some undercover stuff, Miller. You gotta get in there. You
I'm like, I
got
have a job, like it's tough, man.
you
I
got
would love to put more time into this, but
you gotta get a Patreon or something. You start monetizing, Miller.
the thing that was so good about Marvel's Avengers was it happened during COVID.
Oh yeah,
So like,
you're racking up those streamer bucks.
yeah, like I wasn't doing anything. Everybody had their stimulus checks. It was great. It was a recipe for success. But
Yeah, that
the world has changed.
yeah, yes it has. Yeah, I would love nothing more for you to be a full-time content creator, really.
I would be
it would bring me
great at
so
it.
it would bring me so much joy.
I want to get back to I admit like it's been nice streaming again. It's been really nice streaming again. I'm still like getting that fire back.
Yeah.
Like I remember my first month of streaming, like October 2020, or I guess November really. It took so long for me to like find that groove, like months to find that groove and get
Mm.
like all these ideas flowing, and I've got some, but they're like way higher budget than I like can afford. Like I had this cool idea. I'll just say this because I don't know if I can afford this or not, but it has to be after I upgrade my computer.
Right.
Of like, what if I did like IRL streams inside of video games? So like,
Hmm.
I'm in VR. I have like a VR treadmill, right? So
Right.
I'm like walking around the streets inside of like Gotham Knights or Arkham Knight. You know what I mean? Like literally just walking through as if I'm a civilian, walking through physically myself, my body through the streets of Gotham and exploring it and doing like an IRL tour or something. And then
That would
getting like, I don't know, I could get like attacked by thugs or something and like
that would actually
run
be
away, like
insane.
freak out. Oh my God, like someone call 911.
That would actually
Clip that. Did you
that
get his
would
face?
that'd
Like
be
there's a million things you could do. It'd be so funny.
that'd be incredible.
But
I would absolutely watch that. But
like there's so much room in that space for fun stuff. And
but
the gears are turning, but the
but
wallet is not.
but in terms of the scoop stuff, I feel like I'm sure you've gotten a little nice little cool payday from some of your stories, but I feel like you should not like I'm definitely serious about the Patreon thing, but I think you should have like a website, which are pretty cheap now, pretty easy to set up now, and you'll run ads on there, and you can just have like big scoops there, and whether you could do a Substack if you want as well, and just monetize that when you have like some big suits, because like you have a big following on Twitter, people know you by now. So if it's a big enough story in term with industry interest, you're going to get retweeted and followed up on by Forbes and everything like that. And I'm just thinking like, yeah, that would be money directly into you instead of you having to go through this editor and take whatever rate that they're going to give you. Like, build your own thing, like Jeff Grubb did.
I had a major outlet approach me, and it kind of fell apart. Like, there was some issues. It just wasn't like the perfect connection, I think, between us. We didn't really have the same vibe. But then I spoke to another outlet more recently, and they were curious about like my relationship with Xputer and like stuff like that. And I had a conversation with them, and they um they were like, yeah, we can't pay you that. You know what I mean? Well, actually, now that I say that out loud, I got told that by a third outlet as well that was curious about bringing me on for stuff. It's like, it's hard. Like, when I do a story, I put months into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like I'm data mining, I'm talking, I'm like building connections with people so that I can
investigative
get to a
journalism.
point, so I can get to a point that we can have those conversations. And then every couple months, I have something really juicy that I can talk about. You know what I mean? Like most jobs in journalism, like you're pushing like fucking 8 stories a day to like keep clothes on your back. You know what I mean? Like that's a very different thing from what I do. I really think the smartest move for me would probably be to move a lot of it over to YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just come up with like a
Absolutely.
good format for that. That way it's like in my own words. And YouTube revenue is pretty good. I'll have to get like creative about like what to use and what not to use and how to do that.
Yeah,
But
it's very good though. Speaking from experience.
it's also like a good launching pad for other stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like I can do other types of content on that channel and have that be like buoyed by the news stuff too. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, which I know like that sort of content diversity hurts you on YouTube to an extent, but I think that would be worth it versus like trying to do just exclusively like gameplay content and like really trying to make it in that field as well. Like I think doing okay across the board would be worth it. But that's just where my head is at. I don't know.
yeah.
I'm thinking a lot
I'm,
of
I'm
stuff.
thinking like I watch channels all the time that like do Marvel updates and rumors and stuff. I'm like, man, Miller could do this better. Like he actually knows
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm always shocked. Like the thing that got me into this was like correcting the record, because it always shocks me like how like when I just said journalists are like clocking 8 stories a day to like keep a roof over their head.
Yeah.
That doesn't leave a lot of time for fact checking. That doesn't leave a
Nope.
lot of time for just ensuring you understand the basics of what you're talking about. So like I get really weird, like bad faith interpretations of what I say, like all the time, like misquoted. And it's not like, I mean, maybe bad faith wasn't the right word because it's not malicious. They just don't have the time. Like I read, like I love him, but like, Paul Tassi articles,
Yeah.
there's always something in them where you're like, wait, what? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just
Oh
how
yeah.
the industry works. Like there's only a couple that I can think of that are like immune to that, and it's because they are like fucking superstars, you know what I mean? And they
Like
have
Schreier.
the leg room to take the time, because people don't have that luxury in this industry. It's so cutthroat. And God, that sounds like a nightmare. You know what I mean? Can you
Yeah.
imagine like we were, talking about Suicide Squad reviews like in the last couple months. They don't have time to put enough time in. Like when we talk about a game that's meant to be played for hundreds of hours, like how in the hell are you supposed to do that as a journalist? Like I I can think of so many reviews where it's like kind of obvious they didn't finish the game, and the conversation surrounding like should they have to, but like in many cases they don't have the time to, in
Yeah.
order to keep that revenue going to like pay their rent.
Yeah, they
So,
like so. Yeah, I know it for sure. Like a couple of them literally just played like 2 hours and and
you
wrote the review.
know, I mean, maybe that's a little excessive, but like, I mean, It's such a shitty fucking industry, man. Like, you gotta be somebody and make a name for yourself and have people that love you, or, like, you're on the struggle bus for life. And, like, man, that is
Yeah, that's why I respect the guys
cruel.
who are able to have their own shops at least. Like Henderson over with Insider Gaming. Jeff Grubb has a really fun thing going with the because he already sold off his thing and now he's just doing this. He's basically doing side quests now with he's got his Game Mess mornings and Game Mess podcasts and stuff like that. So he's in a great position and I see that I could see that for you, like being in a position where you're just like
Okay,
sitting
how
back,
about this? You'll
chilling.
be my manager. I'll give you a cut, we'll do this together. I'm in.
Let's do this. Sadot and Miller set up. I'm so serious. I would absolutely love to have you like just be a star content creator because I'm like if I can do it, literally anyone could do it. I,
Please. I
I
mean,
I'm not.
you're really, like, doing quite well, though, I must say.
I'm literally just a guy. Like my background, I wanted to play basketball. I was in the music industry. I actually worked in journalism, but I didn't make videos before. I didn't know I played video games, but I didn't know how to edit. I didn't know what editing software to get. I never did anything related to this before, and I just watched some tutorials and just threw my hat in the ring and just learned as I went. And now content creation is my full-time job. It's weird, but I'm always grateful for all my supporters because I know just like I because that's why I look sideways at the creators who get like a little ahead of themselves in terms of arrogance because I was like, oh yeah, I definitely know where I came from and I see creators all the time struggling to trying to get there and I know I did not have like a strong foundation. My only foundation was literally I had a nice computer. I had a Mac computer that I was using for music, and that was and that's it. I was starting in the pandemic. I had a PS5 and I had a computer. That was it.
Yeah. It's I don't know,
I,
it's a crazy life, isn't it?
it is an absolutely insane life, and I definitely would want to see you succeed, succeed because I know I always hate when I see talented people wasting away at a job they hate. It's just
Yeah, and let me tell you, that is 100% the case. Like, it's hard out there, man. Like,
but
I work with, like like, I would do a really physical job. Some of the people who I work with have been doing it for, like, 20 years or, like, even just, like, 15 years, and they walk like they're dying. Like,
oh my god.
it's like The Walking Dead. Like, it's so depressing. It's like, "Oh my god, this is my future." Like, I'm staring at it. Like,
I I felt that I had that exact same moment when this was years ago now before because my journey.
"Hello? Is it just me? Oh my god, wait, chat, is it literally just me right now? Can you only see me or am I gone?" When his camera froze, he's got please, this is so funny. How did I get in control of this? Wait, what? Okay, I thought literally the camera, like Sadot's camera, was just frozen on my end because, like, my computer is kinda on the struggle bus, like, when I'm doing VR, like, and in a podcast, and I have, like, 20 programs. It's such a mess. But just me? Oh, wow. Okay, well, let me show you guys around the office. I've just been, doing some work here. We got oh, yeah, I got my coffee still over here. Wait, where is my coffee? Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, it's cooled down. Yeah, I'm just, I many establishments that I own, um, cut the check to wreck the scream. That's so funny. So just to be sure you've heard Ubisoft talks with Marvel aren't going well, right? I didn't hear that. He'll be back. I hope so. It's Miller TV. Please. Okay. Well, we were talking about Tomb Raider. This is now officially the weirdest episode of this podcast. We were talking about Tomb Raider. There was like a leak that was going around from this Brazilian guy, and I got asked about it by a few people. It's very vague. There are some things that I've heard that like roughly align with that. An emphasis on the supporting cast and like a
All right,
multiplayer element.
I'm
Oh,
back.
you're back.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, every week, 'cause whenever I use Google Chrome, at some point, the whole thing
You just have
freezes.
like a memory leak.
Yeah, I haven't been able to figure it out. It's literally just, it always happens with Chrome.
Oh.
No, it's weird. It's weird. It sucks. But yeah, I'll probably miss all that. But moral of the story is, I want Miller to not have to work. If I had enough money, I would literally pay you not.
Aw.
I would literally pay you not to go to work. I'm
Okay,
so.
well, if you have 5,000 Canadian dollars, I could really use it for a new computer. Oh,
I
I like
uh,
okay, so like I'm playing Suicide Squad, right? And it's an open world game. It's very much like CPU bound. And I have like the best CPU that I can put in my motherboard. So I'm like, okay, I have to upgrade my CPU, but I'm going to need to also upgrade my motherboard. And I really thought that was it. And then I actually did the math and I'm like, wait a second. This new motherboard that I'm looking at is not compatible with my RAM. I have to get new RAM. And
oof.
wait a second, this new CPU is going to clock out my PSU. I need to get a new power supply. Then I'm like, wait a second. If I get a new power supply and new RAM and new motherboard and the new CPU, I'm one part away from a new computer. Like, why am I not just building a new computer at that point? I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll be one of those two PC streamers or something. But anyways, yeah, it's going to cost $5,000, please.
so that's others. So, oh well. Funny enough, I do have $5,000, but I can't reasonably just give it to you yet. I have to
I'll work
I
for it. I'll do a little dance.
I have to keep some money for emergencies and savings and bills and stuff like that, because I am a content creator, so I recognize how crazy this career is. So I like to keep a stockpile of cash to make sure that I have enough to get through. I am
No,
waiting.
that's fair.
I actually am waiting for a big payday potentially. I have some legal stuff that's been in the works for a while that I won't get into, but if
Oh, you're getting sued.
no,
I've been
I'm
there.
I'm doing this soon.
Oh my God. Who,
Yeah,
wait, are you suing a creator?
no, I can't. I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to get into
No,
it, but
that's all I wanted to ask. I was just curious about that.
yeah,
If
yeah.
if it's not that, it's obviously very private, so I
Yeah.
won't pry.
Yeah, it's not nothing content creator related.
Mm.
But if that pans out, then I would definitely have more than enough to donate to your cause.
Hooray!
Yeah,
Yay! I wish you good luck on your lawsuit. I hope you clean house.
I do as well. That is you're definitely on the list of people that will be blessed if I if it pans out.
Oh my God. I was kidding. That's so kind of
I'm
you. But I
I'm not
mean,
I'm not I'm not
life
kidding.
and whatever.
I'm not kidding at all. I'm dead serious.
Wow. Well, I would pay it back tenfold. Not literally,
You could
obviously.
you could pay it back by being a successful content creator.
I would honestly just like I'd probably try 24-hour streaming again. That'd be fun.
Absolutely. I just want more Miller out in the world.
Oh, me too. Let me tell you, if there's one thing there's not enough out there, it's me. My name, my face. We
What
got to get on that.
100%. We'll call it a work in progress officially.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. People think I'm so conceited, but I'm actually like I have very low self-esteem.
Yeah,
It's a fine line for creators.
I never understood that. Like that's just, but it makes sense. As being a content creator, I understand that people literally just make stuff up for no
Oh, that's true.
they just literally just lie. Like all the
People
time.
will come up with the weirdest things too. Like what do people say about you?
Oh well, apart from the racial stuff,
Mhm.
there's this narrative that I just hate Baldur's Gate 3 for some now.
Oh.
That's just a thing, even though I literally bought the game. and gave it a review, a positive review, and I said
Oh.
and said that it deserved Game of the Year. But yeah, just literally the other day, someone responded to my post about the new Suicide Squad build that I put together after the patch by saying, "Oh, can't believe it's crazy. He thinks this game is way better than Baldur's Gate 3." I'm like, that literally never happened.
Mhm.
That's literally never happened. And he now and then when everyone called him out on it, he actually doubled down. Was like, "Nope, he said it." And I was like, "Oh yeah, by all means, post it." He disappeared after
Weird.
that. I'm just like,
Is there anything else? Like, any, like, "Oh," I'll invent one. Like, "Oh, Sadot only stream," like, no, those are all really, really bad. Wait,
uh,
let me think of something that's, like, more PG.
I've been called
Um,
I've been called a liar. I've actually
well,
been
I always
called.
hear about the AI thumbnails.
Yeah,
I always hear that brought up.
I've actually been called a racist.
Oh, wow. Sadot, I never knew.
Yeah, apparently, I hate white people. That's also something
Wow.
been going around.
Well,
The
do you? No, I'm kidding.
Uh, I mean, I'm doing a very bad job of it. If that's the case, by having now two white co-hosts.
Yeah, look at this skin. I am lily white.
Yeah, Parappa Rapper is definitely not
He
of
is
this.
fly though,
Yeah,
for a
he's
cracker.
I think they would call him appropriator technically.
Please. Yeah, I
Technically.
mean,
A culture vulture.
are we wrong?
I mean, he
He
kind
was
of.
created by Rodney Greenblatt. It kind of seems like like a one of those cases of creators inserting themselves, you know? I think
Yeah.
it's his rap dreams come true.
Yeah, no, I've learned to kind of like take a step back because it's like, oh, these people are just weird and
Yeah.
have nothing better to do with their lives. But I'll just literally just be occasionally going through and I'll pop into a random thread and I'll see, especially if it's about a leak or something, and be like, yeah, man, I remember from the Avengers days, Miller used to lie all this. I'm like, what are you talking about? I was
So funny. Like, I get the weirdest shit about that. Like, people will always say, like, "Oh, Miller never had a source, actually. That was very hotly debated," and all this shit. And it was like, there's like 5 things I can think of off the top of my head where there was no data, like, for a story that I broke. Like, what? But also, too, I think one of the things that hurt me, like, reputationally, was I would speculate, and I still do this because I'm a human being and I don't give a fuck.
Of
But,
course.
like, if you think about the time when I was, like, doing my 24/7 stream and somebody was like Moon Knight was about to come out, right? And they
Yeah.
were like, "Oh, the Moon Knight," and I'm like, "Well, there's that. What is it? Like the staff of
This
Ouroboros,
yeah,
um,
the staff of Khonshu was in the
staff of
game.
Khonshu. Thank you. Our artifact that is like sitting around unreleased. I'm like, maybe they'll release that. Like, that there'd be no better time to do it
Yeah,
to like
exactly.
cross promote with Moon Knight. Why not? And then like that got repeated to like, oh, Miller's confirming Moon Knight tie-in, da da da, and then that gets repeated as like, well, Miller lied about the Moon Knight tie-in. And it's like,
Which is like silly. Like no, like he found a Moon Knight artifact in the game. Like it's a thing, and he said, well, if they wanted to tie in, they could do that with what they have. It's not your fault that they didn't think ahead to do that.
and it's not like I get everything right. Like I am wrong. Like in my article, I talked about Green Lantern getting shot and like falling, and he does not evidently fall in the game.
No,
And what I draw what I based that on was dialogue from season 3 that references Green Lantern falling seemingly to his death. So it happens, it just hasn't happened yet, and I just got the timing
yeah,
wrong. But
yeah,
that's wrong.
exactly.
Like I got it wrong. I'll say it.
So yeah, I guess you could say that because he didn't after you beat him, by shooting him, he does fall, but he's not dead. you know,
But he
and,
doesn't fall. He just lays there.
and he did
Like he
because
falls down like physically like
yeah,
but like
then he just lays there. That's when he gets shot in the head. And then, but even then, that scene itself is further evidence that they're setting up for the return of the League, because there was several hints dropped in that scene, because the whole reason they were attacking Lantern is because they were trying to get hit. They were trying to bring down the shield that Green Lantern was using to protect Brainiac's ship. And once they brought down Green Lantern, they were like, "Oh, the ship's shield's still up." So he shoots him in the head. Deadshot shoots him in the head. Shield's still up, and that's when Boomer makes the comment, "What did you miss?" And the ring is still sitting on his finger, which it should have flown away if the holder was actually dead. That's why King Shark was able to pick it up and use it, which is how he brought the shield down. So clearly they're trying to tell us something there.
That's it. Like, I think it's really a media literacy issue. Like, I think there are a lot of people, like, I remember when I was a kid, my favorite movie was The Ring, right?
Oh my
And
God. I remember that movie.
right? Yeah, and the ending of the movie, it's like there's like a bit of a mystery, like how does this thing work? And then at the very, very end, you like think it's resolved, but it's not resolved. And then like the actual rules are explained to you in like this flashback sequence that like shows the hints. And I remember so much discourse about that, like my whole life, about like that being the weakest part of the movie, because it's like, oh, some audiences just need it spelled out for them. You know what I mean? Like who didn't get it at that point? Now we have to go through this gratuitous flashback sequence to show you how it was hinted at. But like, I think they kind of clocked it there. Like, I think even when I say like, there's many hints throughout the game, da 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 da, and then people finish the game and they like look at my article and that point specifically and be like, well, that was a lie. And it's like, what? Like,
Yeah,
what? I mean, like the Green Lantern thing too with the ring, like people bring that up like, oh, it's a plot hole. And it's like, is it? Like, what?
yeah, like they
It's
don't understand. Yeah, it's
really
literally.
like I don't think it's really even a bad faith interpretation of it. Like as much as it might seem like that, I really think it's just stupidity. Like I think
Yeah.
it's just people who don't it's people really truly who like don't think critically, who have never really read a book for fun, who just don't really engage in media on that level. And that's, different strokes to row the boat. That doesn't mean your life is any better or worse. Doesn't mean you're a better person or a worse person for that. But it just means like you truly don't like engage with media on any critical level. You don't question like stories as you engage with them. And that's like I think it's really a sign of where like how we got to this place with fandom discourse, that the conversation is so dominated by people like that when we're talking about media, where it's like, how did you become like an empirical source? Like how did we start to view you as somebody who is like an expert on this when clearly you aren't even paying attention?
At
You know
all.
what I mean?
Like, yeah, like
Yeah, like that's kind of sad. Like, I mean, I don't have anything against you. It's just like maybe you aren't the person that we should be going to
yeah,
for like media takes, like
yeah.
maybe not.
Even
Maybe, try knitting. That,
it,
hey.
even professionals like Greg Miller fall victim to this. Like Dell Walker, the developer, called him out on this, because he described Suicide Squad as just a soulless game, and Dell called him out, but like, bro, you're literally talking over and skipping all the cutscenes. Like what are you talking about? Like how are you critiquing the game and call it soulless if you're literally not even engaging with it in good in good faith?
Yeah. Like I used to have a friend that I used to like play video games with when I was a kid. And I remember he always used to skip the cutscenes. And like he loved Final Fantasy games. And I'll never understand why, because like
The
he
cutscenes are
never
like the best part.
saw them. Right? Like I remember him playing Final Fantasy 13, literally skipping every cutscene. And it was like, okay, pop quiz. What is that character's name? You know what I mean? Like you don't know. Like gun to your head, you don't know. Like that's sad. Like don't get me wrong, like, enjoy your media however you want to enjoy it. But like
Is
again, like you are
of
not
all
the expert.
the games though, those are weird ones to skip the cutscenes. Like
Very weird.
I remember
I
vividly.
don't even think you could skip cutscenes in that series, like until that entry.
Yeah, it was
Like,
actually like I remember like Final Fantasy X. That's still my favorite Final Fantasy game, and I love the story and the cutscenes and the music so much that I literally downloaded like the full Final Fantasy X movie. like complete with the perfect ending. And I think it ended up being like a 10-15 hour thing, and I watched all of it.
Right? I love the Xeno series. Like Xenosaga is like half cutscene. You know what I mean? Like I love those games. But yeah, I think literally one of the games has like like around like 12 hours of cutscenes.
Yeah, now 16, I didn't only cutscenes I enjoyed in 16 was like the cinematic combat, stuff. Didn't engage, didn't really get engaged with the story. Wasn't for me. Wasn't feeling it. But the action stuff was dope, and the actual gameplay was fantastic. So if we could combine the combat in 16 with the story and the music of 10, or literally just put the combat directly in the 10 remake, I'll I'm there. I'm playing I'm playing it forever.
Well, I'm excited to see what 9 remake is going to be if,
Yeah.
they ever reveal that.
Yeah, we gotta wait. Yeah, I think 10 is the one after, is the remake after, last I heard.
Well,
Uh
the 9 remake was in the Nvidia leak, and then there were some statements from some Square Enix
mm,
staff that sort of implied that there was something there. Like they were
yeah,
like doing sort of public polling on Twitter, like, oh, if oh wait, no, that was Final Fantasy Tactics.
yeah,
That I'm thinking of. Yeah, there's this whole Tactics remake that got leaked that still hasn't shown up. It's a weird thing over at Square Enix.
yeah. Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, I haven't really ever since they sold off Crystal Dynamics. I haven't dove much into what's going on
You haven't missed much.
behind the scenes at Square. I think the last thing I heard from Square about Square, something was going on with Square, was a scoop that I got that at one point before they sold Crystal, all their Western studios, they were working on X-Men game with one of their Japanese studios, but obviously that ship has sailed.
I mean, if that's real, then I'm heartbroken because, like, literally, I mean, from day one, like the rumor being like, oh, 3 Square Enix
Yeah,
games, like with Marvel.
yeah.
What do you want the third one to be? I was always like, I would love an X-Men game
Apparently,
developed by one of their Japanese studios.
apparently, from a very reliable source, that was the plan before they got out of the
Well,
Marvel
fuck
business.
them for that.
Unfortunately,
Ugh.
we're the X-Men games will live on through another studio, but yeah,
Somebody needs to leak that prototype, you know? Somebody really show us
yeah,
the concept art. I would like to see it.
yeah, that would have been awesome. I would have loved
Ugh.
I would have loved that. That game would have probably been amazing. Uh,
Yeah.
I can't. We definitely need more Eastern studios to do like superhero stuff.
No, just licensed games in general. Like
Yeah,
I
just
remember well, I guess remember isn't the right word. Some of them are older than me, but like Capcom had those incredible licensed games, like the Disney ones, like in
mhm.
the NES and the SNES eras. Like those are some of the best licensed games of all time. Like,
Yeah,
where'd
yeah,
that go?
yeah. Like I understand, like it's especially in the case of Marvel, where you're kind of just like, I don't know, but you know, uh, that's why I think DC should really start getting more aggressive, because if they can like present themselves as a more accessible alternative to licensing superhero stuff, I think they can really like make a big splash in the gaming space by just being like actual acting like an actual competitor. Just be like, hey, we know what the Marvel rates are. We know what we're offering you. We'll offer you better deals. You know, we'll work with you. We won't be as hands on, and just develop some DC stuff.
Well, all they want to do is play catch up, unfortunately. You know,
I
like
mean,
here's
it's
our
better than
Marvel
nothing.
Snap. Here's our Marvel's Avengers. It's like I don't know that I don't know. Even
Uh,
like again, like when they're following up on something rock solid, it's like people kind of don't care.
Speaking of,
Have you,
what have you heard anything about the upcoming Monolith Wonder Woman game? I was expecting an update on it last year, but the only one we got was basically a
that
response to the
Langston
back.
art?
Yeah, the leaked concept art and the response to the backlash because of that job listing that made it seem like it was going to have live service elements, which it will obviously.
Every game will. Like, let's be
yeah,
honest. It's
yeah,
another one of those don't call it a live service.
yeah, exactly,
Like,
exactly. People. That's another thing. Like me, it's not just media literacy. Like I made a whole video explaining this whole thing about like how every game, every AAA game to some degree is going to have live service elements. Like because they took Zaslav's quote and was like, "Oh yeah, everything's going to be a game of service." I'm like, everything's already a game of service. Like,
yeah, like when we like it's really like a mic drop moment whenever people bitch about the live service to Suicide Squad devs, and then you just look at like the most played games per platform and all live service games.
literally all of them.
Or
Like I
yeah,
saw,
like I
like even recently they had a graph with the most played games in America in 2023, and it was GTA Online, Fortnite, and Call of Duty. like, what are you talking? Like, there's a mark, and but even then, like the more hilarious thing, which always trips them up, is like when they bitch about Suicide Squad's live service stuff. I'm like, you do realize that Arkham Knight literally launched with a season pass.
yeah.
They charged you for the stuff that Suicide Squad is giving you for free. Like, what do we like? Every game now is a games of service to some degree. That's all Zaslav was talking about. At its core, games of service is monetizing beyond the initial purchase and giving fans a reason to come back to the game and increasing general playtime. That's what the games of service philosophy is. It doesn't mean it's going to be always everything's going to be an always online co-op shooter or whatever. It literally just means they're going to have ways to continue to get players to come back to the games, whether that's DLC like Spider-Man did with their three paid DLC, or Arkham Knight with their season pass and new playable characters. Like this is all just extending the shelf life of the game and giving players a reason to come back and giving them a reason to spend more beyond what they paid for it. That's all it is. And they just don't put two and two together. They're just like, oh no, it's different because it's not multiplayer. No, like, you're stupid. It's not different. It's not different. It's the same, the exact same philosophy. That this is what they're doing. So yeah, the Wonder Woman game probably won't. So the one thing people were worried about is that the Monolith's last game, Middle Earth Shadow War, was heavily criticized because it had a ton of monetization in it, loot boxes, the whole nine. So they obviously don't want to repeat of that. But other than that, I doubt they'll go that route. But other than that, I haven't heard anything new about the game. I expect it has to get an update this year, right?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm lagging really hard right now. I'm not even sure if you'll be able to hear
I'm here.
glitching out. I hope you will.
I'm hearing you a little bit right now. Yeah.
Okay, but do I sound like stable or is it like kind of weird?
Now you do. Now you sound stable.
Okay, well, I can't really hear you. Get a minute. Talk. I'll be back in just a minute.
All right. Well, Miller will be back. He's got to get stuff. I had the exact same. I had a similar problem. My browser was messing up.
Yeah, this is on my end. Just give me 1 minute. Just give me 1 minute, and I'm gonna
take your time. I'll hold it down.
I'm gonna leave and jump right back in. Give me 1 minute.
All right. Yeah, Blazing Flame. We actually addressed this already. So if you missed that, to bring that back up, there is currently nothing that we know of going on at Ubisoft related to Marvel. The only thing Miller specifically heard is that a Marvel project was recently canceled, but he's not able to say specifically what that Marvel project was. But there was one that was recently canceled. Obviously, Ubisoft hasn't revealed anything yet in terms of plans for a Marvel game, but yeah, Miller confirmed all you heard was that a Marvel game was canceled, but there are obviously other Marvel projects out there in the wild. It might might still be a Ubisoft thing, but we haven't heard anything yet. Comic Historian said in one of his videos that we will get an update on one next month, but who knows? I'll definitely look into that. If anyone would know, well, actually, if anyone would know, JayShockblast should know, but I can ask Jay. But yeah, was it in a recent Comic Historian video? I'll check it out, because I know Comic Historians got pulled at WB. He was one of the people who were flown out in order to try out Suicide Squad at the preview event. So he's got pull. Obviously, he also covers a lot of DC stuff, so he probably has some pull over there. I know Jay has a lot of pull over at WB, so he will probably know something. But next month is March, so it's not anything significant that I can think of going on that would prompt them to do anything. So it might just be, oh, we're just ready to reveal it. So if so, I'm looking forward to it. I think that game is going to be great. I know there are some salty Superman fans that were just like, oh, who asked for it? But I for one am one of the people who asked for a Wonder Woman game. I don't just want Wonder Woman. I want everybody. I want Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Superman, Flash. I want all that. As for the Kansas DC game, I cannot tell you anything about it. It was canceled before last year, though. People sleep on Wonder Woman for Thursday. I don't know why. I don't think people. I think it's just certain, just uncultured weirdos who hate people also who hate women. Like Wonder Woman is literally an icon. Like she's an iconic character. She is one of DC's big three. There are millions of Wonder Woman fans out there. I know that game is going to go hard, especially in the Nemesis system. That's going to be great. A Green Lantern game, yeah, Green Lantern. Like I would love a Green Lantern game, real-time action RPG where you create your own lantern, all the way down to the race, the inherent abilities, and everything like that. And you go on, you get a sector of the galaxy to patrol, and there's like an overarching story as well. But there's a lot of choice. There's kind of like a Baldur's Gate 3 situation in terms of the story having a lot of branching storylines and possibilities and stuff like that. I think that would be just insane.
Hey, sorry about that. I was having hardware problems. I'm good now.
All right, yeah, we were just talking. Yeah, apparently, according to Comic Historian, they're going to announce something for Wonder Woman next month. But I gotta follow up and confirm that. But apparently, that's what he said. You haven't heard anything. You haven't heard anything, right?
I haven't. I can't lie. I haven't really been paying attention though. So maybe I should ask around.
Yeah, I guess I'll ask Jay since if Comic Historian knows, something, Jay would have to know something, or he could. He definitely knows a person he can ask. I know Jay is just the type that doesn't usually pry, unless it's just offered to him, or unless you asked him to make an inquiry. So I'll see what he knows, and I'll check out the Comic Historian video, because I definitely would love to make another Wonder Woman video. I'm excited for that game. I can't wait to play it. I can't wait to play it. I'm looking forward to that Respawn game too. They just announced, Tom Henderson over at Insider just announced that as a follow-up to this old Jeff Grubb report, the game they're working on is actually a FPS Mandalorian game.
Yeah, I heard some rumors about that before it was publicly identified as Mandalorian. And wasn't that like being called like, oh, you've been waiting for this?
Yeah. I mean, that's literally the first thing I thought of. I actually put that on Reddit when Henderson said he was going to follow up, but it was something you all Star Wars fans have been waiting for. I was like, oh, it has to be a Mandalorian game. Like
I
that's the only
love a
thing I
good
think of.
first person game. I'm not one of those. Like I love a good first person game, so I'm ready.
I'm more open to it. Like before, I just avoided them, but after I think diving into Destiny 2, I started like being a little more lax when it came to those. Now I'll just give it. If it looks good, I'll give it a shot.
Mhm.
And I feel like a Mando game would definitely qualify as something. Yeah, it's probably still good because I enjoyed the Avatar game. I still haven't finished that, but I was enjoying that experience. And first person can definitely help with everything. Doesn't have to just be third person over the shoulder Sony style.
Mhm.
You know,
I like being in it, you know?
yeah, I think it works with a Mandalorian game because you're like immersed. You're a Mando, so you're inside the helmet.
Mhm.
I think that's a cool way to do that. Same with the Indiana Jones games. Like, oh, you're one. You want to see what it's like to be indie, so you're indie because otherwise they're just making Uncharted. So
That's it, you know? We've done that before.
yeah, so when I saw that was first person, I was like, that's fine. It looks good and it makes sense. I'm not too concerned now. Now, if I might, I mean, it does look interesting enough. Where I was like, I would potentially, I want to see more, but I would definitely potentially get an Xbox because, especially since they're cheap. But eventually, I mean, I might just be able to wait. Just come to PlayStation, apparently, Miller.
I mean, the whole conversation surrounding the Xbox thing has been such a disaster. And the thing that really gets me is like, if like seeing that whole press event, well, not press event, but that whole like little sit down podcast thing that they did, like, oh, the future of Xbox. Seeing that, it's like, why the fuck did you wait however long to talk about that? If your point was going to be like, whoa, 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 hold on, it's not a seismic change, it's just a little toe dip, like it's nothing. Then
so,
why the fuck did it take week? Like,
so, so I was listening to Grub talk about this, and it seems like what happened was they were having very, very serious conversations about aggressively porting games over because they're as they revealed with the Game Pass numbers, they're not growing. The Game Pass, they're not console sellers, and even the top console seller PlayStation has seemingly hit a wall. So they're like, okay, how can we make more revenue? How can we grow and get Xbox stuff everywhere? So they were like, okay, let's start looking at growing the audience by doing more cross-platform stuff. So they talked about not just the 4 games, which reportedly are going to be Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, Grounded, and Pentiment, but they also had very serious conversations about Gears of War and Starfield and that's why, but a bunch of stuff got out, and they had to do damage control because the fans were having a meltdown, and it was like, okay, well, for now we're just going to talk about the stuff that the 4 we're going to go forward with the 4 that we have locked in, and then we'll try to smooth things over and revisit this later, because in the interviews he didn't rule out any other future stuff getting ported over. He didn't rule out, even though he said they're not the 4 games weren't one of the 4 games weren't Starfield, Indiana Jones. He actually in a follow-up interview didn't rule out having Starfield ported over later. So
I mean,
it,
end of an era, right? I mean,
eh,
like exclusivity was always fucking stupid in the first place. Like, I mean, it's one thing when like you own a studio, like to play in your sandbox, you know what I mean?
yeah,
But
and
it's
that's what I think is more nuanced. Like there's definitely some stupid exclusivity stuff that happened, notably the Marvel's Avengers Spider-Man thing, but it made sense at a certain era where it's like, okay, well, we we are going to put a bunch of money into an Uncharted or a Last of Us, because that's going to get people to buy the PlayStation or whatever. And now they're seeing diminishing returns because the market isn't growing as fast as they would potentially needed to. Now everyone has to kind of explore their options on, okay, how can we expand the players if we can't dramatically expand the people who are going to buy our consoles?
I just wish this extended to Nintendo for PC releases,
Yeah, Nintendo was like living in like 1999 anyway. So
and we love them for it. Like make no mistake, it's great. But like there are definitely a couple Nintendo games that I would love to have native on PC.
Yeah, maybe in another 10 years Nintendo will get on the bandwagon, but yeah, for now they're just content to just putting everything on, just only having. I did hear they've been having conversations about, to be fair, having more third party partners going forward. So
I mean, we got another unprecedented partnership. How many generations have we had this conversation? Like,
yeah, well, we'll see how it pans out. I do know they're making a live action Zelda movie. So maybe Zelda's could come to PlayStation.
I mean, that I doubt, but
at least PC.
I mean, I think there is room for Nintendo on PC. The only thing is that they'd probably use their own fucking launcher.
Yeah, probably.
And then that's a real monkey paw kind of situation for me, like, oh god.
Yeah, I mean, baby steps for Nintendo.
I mean, we know that Sony has toyed with the idea of like their own PC launcher, and like, I'm just so grateful they haven't done it yet. Please don't ever do it.
Yeah, well, I don't know what Sony is going like. Obviously, we got a big deep dive into Xbox's future plans, but only thing we know about the one thing we did hear about Sony, like, which was making rounds, was that, and was of course misinterpreted, was they're leaning more into what they were already doing in terms of the cross-platform stuff with PC. The interim CEO, doubled down on that, specifically mentioning PC in an address. And it makes sense for them. I mean, they were trying to expand their audience, because they recognize, we can't just sell PlayStations. That's not going to be sustainable, and there's a whole big market that isn't directly competing with us. So PC just made sense. So I think realistically we'll probably just see more same day PS5 PC releases like we got with Helldivers 2, which worked out very well for Helldivers 2.
Yeah, it really buoyed that game. Good for them.
It ended up being a big hit on Steam, and
that's with a bad port too.
Yeah, terrible. It was literally broken day one, but they got it to work. So we'll see. I wonder, is Stellar Blade going to be PC? That's going to be a big. That's definitely going to be.
Is Stellar Blade going to be big? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there's an audience for that, but I mean, like,
it has to be.
People talk about it like it's like the next big thing, but we've had games like that a million times over the course of my life, and like none of them have ever been huge. Like,
Bayonetta had a pretty big following, and
no, it didn't. Like, Bayonetta, like, seriously, probably sold like 2 million units lifetime, like a single game. Like, Bayonetta never set the world on fire.
Yeah, it was never massive, but it had to do pretty well.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm one of those. Like, that's okay. Like, your game doesn't have to sell 10 million copies. Like, it doesn't have to be GTA. Like, I've played games that I love that were considered successes that sold like less than 1 million copies. And that's cool. But I mean, like,
yeah,
I don't.
Yeah,
I don't know. The conversation around Stellar Blade is really weird to me.
Yeah, definitely. So Bayonetta sold 3.6 mil, Bayonetta 2 1.5 mil, and Bayonetta 3 1.7 mil. So it was no Insomniac Spider-Man, but it looks like every entry made some money. So and I think we're living in a different time now, because it's been a while since we've had like a mainstream game like this. I think
Didn't Bayonetta 3 come out last year?
yeah, but if you compare a Bayonetta 3 to Stellar Blade, it's like clearly
I mean,
clearly
like, I
this
don't
is
know, like
this is the studio. Maybe you haven't seen some of the new skins, but this is clearly this was so Stellar Blade is made by the same studio that made that Goddess of Victory mobile game. Have you seen that? Have you seen it? Have you ever seen
I've
that
seen
game?
ads for that, I believe,
Yeah,
with, like, the Eastern European actor,
it,
and they
it's
always
it's the butt jiggle game.
wait, hold on, let me Google that. Goddess of Victory?
Goddess of Nike, Goddess of Victory Nike.
Oh, yeah. Nike.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Is that you'll see what kind of game it is, and that's the studio making Stellar Blade.
oh, okay, well, that's cool.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
so that game's making a
I
lot of money, and
good for
and
them.
and I think that we're because of there's definitely going to be a culture war element where all the people
That's it.
who are the people who are going to be like, oh man, I'm so tired of ugly women in games, and those people are already on it, and I think they're gonna boost it more than it normally would have been, like similar to a Hogwarts Legacy situation, because they already had like the spark, like there was a journalist who mentioned who commented on Celebrate a while ago saying, oh, it's gross and dated, what is this, female body, and people just immediately just rant it like, oh, see, the woke game journals, they hate women, they hate attractive women. So that's all it needed, and the game itself just on its merits looks pretty fun, but when you add that
I
culture,
love a good TNA game,
yeah,
like, make no mistake, I
yeah.
do.
When you add I think when you add that culture war element, mixed with the fact that there hasn't been like a mainstream TNA game in a very long time, I think this could be a bigger hit than people probably initially thought. I,
Well,
I
fingers
think
crossed.
fingers
There's
crossed.
definitely room for I mean, I really think, like, um, rating board, the rating boards across the world's approach to sexuality, I think, is really dated. Like, I think
Yeah,
there's room for more sexuality in games across the
yeah,
board, and that
sure.
includes gratuitous TNA. I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Like, I used to love Dead or Alive.
I heard this. I heard Celebrate was actually rated in Korea at like 18.
I mean, you wanna talk about hating women,
Yeah.
but, I
Well,
mean
South Korea is all about the you know what I mean, but
yeah, well, yeah, the
so, but yeah, so it looks like it looks like we're finally getting another one, not non-mobile game. We're getting a non-mobile TNA game, and I'm here for it. I'm definitely
I feel like
I'll be
they've
there.
always been here. I don't know.
They
I mean, to me, it's like fake fans, you know what I mean? Like, you claim to love tits,
yeah.
but where were you,
Yeah,
for
no, that's,
PN03? Where were
that's
you
that's what I'm talking
for
about,
Dead or
mainstream
Alive
stuff.
6?
Like when I was younger, yeah, like Dead or Alive was relatively mainstream in gaming. But as I've gotten older, I've noticed like apart from like some kind of like fringe JRP dating sim type stuff and mobile games, it's really been increasingly weeded out of mainstream AAA releases almost entirely. And that's why even though if you've seen other stuff like that, you might be like, oh well, whatever. But as someone who's been following like the AAA stuff, I've definitely noticed a shift, and that's why I think Celebrate kind of is sticking out so much, because we haven't had a mainstream release in years that was so just blatantly just so in your face, like, yep, we know what you're here for. You'll have occasional stuff here and there, but for the most part, it's definitely been something that has been in game less and less. But obviously Genshin was all about it, and it did very well for them. But for usually it's like much more conservative when it comes to portrayal of women in these games. So Stellar Blade in particular stands out because they are not being subtle like at all.
All power to them.
I hope they're doing well.
But is it like an exclusivity thing? Like, what's the like? I haven't really been paying attention too much to like games that appear in state of plays because I usually don't end up playing them.
I think I know it's not going to be cross-platform, but I'm not. Let me just double check. I know it's on PS5. So yeah, so far it's just PS5.
Oh, it's published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. Well, there you go.
Yeah. So it'll definitely get a PC port, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a same day PC release.
Really?
Yeah, I'm as far as I've seen, it doesn't like they're going to do it like they did Helldivers, which I think would be a mistake, but I'm just double checking.
Sony's doing it. It'll get there eventually, which is
it'll
cool
definitely get there eventually. But yeah, so far
I think the mods alone.
Oh yeah, oh my god, absolutely. Yeah, I think that was a big mistake not having that. But they especially after they delayed the game because it was supposed to come out last year along with Helldivers, and they both got delayed out to 2024. So I thought they would for sure have like this out on PC as well. But I mean, they're going to want to.
I mean, a lot of Sony's PC ports are booty. Like, if Nixus isn't doing it, it's awful. And thank God for Nixus.
Yeah. Audience Insomniac ones have been great, but they've been coming out like 2 years after release.
Yeah, those were all done by Nixus.
Yeah. So if they can,
and then you look at like the Last of Us Remastered's port, and that was not good.
Yeah, if they can figure out getting Nixus to make it day in, then I think that would be really good for them. But yeah, so far, no dice. But that's probably be one of those things they were discussing. The interim CEO was discussing about their future plans. Do you guys have any updates on that other WB game Montreal? So yeah, they've been going through a lot of changes over there. I mean, it seems like they finally abandoned Gotham Knights, but I mean, they never really clarified what they were planning to do post launch anyway. And then I know a bunch of major staff from, including Patrick Redding, who's real nice guy. He was the head of the studio. He jumped ship to Ubisoft. They lost a bunch of people to Ubisoft, but before that, there were those job postings about them working on another DC game. They've canceled several, but the last we heard was that there was one they're definitely working on. It was supposed to be an Unreal 5, reportedly a single player DC game, but we haven't heard anything yet. So have you heard anything through the grapevine yet?
I have not. I mean, I do have connections on that front, but I haven't pressed, and it's early days for me.
Makes sense. Yeah, take your time on that. Appreciate the 5 digital variable. So all right, glad. Yep, we're always happy to have Miller here. But
cheers, digital variable.
Yeah, definitely. I haven't heard anything at all about that game. I thought they would have revealed it, but then again, I was like, well, who's even like the creative director or whatever at WB Games now? Like, they've lost so many people.
I mean, it's a mess across the board.
Yeah, just in general, like it's the industry. I know it's a ton of layoffs, but yeah, WB seems to just been like, no, just people just voluntarily leaving. Yeah. So I don't
There's
know.
A lot of that around across the board too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people are, I think, rightfully worried about their jobs right now. If they see a situation where their studio is probably going to lay people off, I think some people want to get ahead of that,
Yeah. Appreciate the $9.99, Kevin. Love Suicide Squad. Just sucks that your gear you wish to choose doesn't do anything in incursion, and your mastery level 60. Afflictions help, not regular damage. Hope that gets fixed. Well, yeah, in my experience, Craze is really good now. My tier 3 Bane set that I was using on Boomer before the patch basically capped out at level 58. And after that, it was like, oh, you're not doing any damage. But but now I could do that at mastery level 80 with no problem. So yeah, it's just a matter of adapting. But I mean, it doesn't look like the industry is going to get any better anytime soon. But at least there's some projects. So yeah, the WB Montreal one, I don't know about that one. They have a very long track record of canceling games. I mean, we just heard recently about that Damian Wayne game that got canceled. It got leaked because it got canceled, and the people who were working on it wanted it to be out there.
Yeah,
But
that story was bizarre.
it was
Like how that got dragged up about like the which actor was it that was like, yeah, it got canceled because it was leaked, and
yeah,
that timeline made no sense.
that was absolutely, like, even just reading the headlines, I was like, that's not how that works. I knew immediately. That's why I was waiting for Shire to do a follow up, which he did. But yeah. Basically, they had worked on a game. They booked a couple voice acting sessions, and then for whatever reason they ended up canceling it, and that was that. They just ended up leaking a bunch of stuff about the game to some forums, because there was like, well,
I wish that happened every time, you know?
yeah. So it's not obscurity, because there were several WB game Montreal DC games that never saw the light of day that I'm sure people would be very interested in. I don't know why. Like, Suicide Squad was one of they were originally supposed to be the ones making the Suicide Squad game. They had set up a Suicide Squad through Origins. They were going to have Deathstroke, Bronze Tiger, potentially Catwoman, and then for a reason they just canceled the game, and then Rocksteady ended up taking it over.
I have seen like one piece of art relative to Suicide Squad with like very, very old Harley.
Josh Keaton, thank you.
And the design is totally different. And I had heard stuff about the design changing over the course of the game. The game's development at Rocksteady.
Different
I wonder
how?
how old that is. I'm gonna have to bring that to a developer and ask them.
Different how?
Well, she's got the pigtails and they're like below shoulder length. In fact, I think they're like nipple length. Like they're very, very long.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a different art style, frankly, like in the face.
Interesting.
Let me fish it out. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, I love to see this. Exclusive from Miller.
I'm not sure how old it is. I mean, I took some of that concept art to a developer to talk about the age, because that's something I'm very curious about, is like the game changing hands and how that went and whatnot.
Yeah, I didn't read the Schreier article, but I heard there was a lot of turmoil going on. But the one thing that definitely didn't happen was a Superman game. Like what they were apparently going to work on an original IP that was a multiplayer game, and then they just ended up moving over to Suicide Squad after WB Games Montreal canceled, and started running with it from there, which was an interesting journey. But yeah, never any point was where they making a Superman game, which is weird, because I don't know what it is. Even a Suicide Squad game, like, I understand. I think, like, to me, in my mind, I'm like, okay, they had plans. Once again, kept playing catch up with Marvel. Okay, Marvel got Guardians of the Galaxy. They got Guardians of the Galaxy. There's a hit. So where can we get some of that? Oh, I know, the Suicide Squad. Let's try to make that work, and then it didn't work. But I
sent it to you on Twitter, by the way. There you go.
Oh, perfect. I know for a fact that if they had made this a live service Justice League game instead, it would have been a massive hit. Like, there would be
But I mean, would it? Because that was Avengers. Like,
now here's the thing. When Avengers got announced, and that's the big difference. When Avengers got announced, everyone was excited. There was hype. There was
They
nothing but hype.
weren't. I mean,
Now,
my recollection of how Avengers went down is different. Like, I think people were groaning from the start, and there were all these consistent rumors about like, oh, it's like create a shield agent, and everyone's like, that sounds like terrible. Fuck that. Like, every time someone came with a plausible explanation for like how this would actually work, even though it was just fan fiction theory nonsense, the reaction was terrible. Like, nobody was willing to look at it in good faith. Nobody was like it was a serious minority of people in the discourse that were approaching it from a sense of like, maybe it'll be good. Like, everyone was absolutely ready for it to be garbage, however it ended up launching.
really,
And the second gameplay was shown, like when they did that
A-Day.
closed door thing at E3, and then somebody like caught some footage of it on their phone. That reception was fucking terrible. Like, everybody was like, oh my god, this looks like shit. Like, then the full launch, oh my god, this looks like shit. Like, I remember pretty universal rejection to it every step of the way.
I came into it later, but I remember relatively seeing a lot more anticipation. Like I remember even seeing it get a standing ovation at E3 when when they were talking about how they were going to do the live service stuff. And I remember there was a lot of because I was looking at a lot of YouTube stuff. I was looking at a lot of the videos that were getting a lot of attention, and there was genuine excitement. Obviously, I know there's always going to be those elements, as you know, on the Reddits or on the Discords, or people just being excessively negative. But I feel like on a mainstream level, there was a lot of interest in the game but things started taking a turn because there was like nothing beyond A-Day. Like they weren't showing anything. It was getting closer and closer to launch. And it's like, what is this? And then they looked at the character models, and then that's when things started going like, because of Black Widow, and then the game came out, and the rest is history. But I don't know. I feel like it would have been much more. I think a Justice League game from Rocksteady, especially with how like good their Justice League overall looked, would have been much more well received. Like, obviously there was going to be people who be like, oh, here is going to be Avengers all over again. But I feel like they would, especially if Rocksteady, first of all, just the announcement trailer alone, I think would have been insane. Like, there, because it's like, okay, Superman, he looks great. We're going to get to play as Superman. We're going to get to play as Batman. I feel like all those people would have drowned out a lot of the criticism.
But I mean, the
That
game would have been different. Like,
it would have been
we
completely like, and
one of the
that's
things
the
that I
thing.
think works about Suicide Squad is like the slightly less diverse gameplay between characters, to put it nicely. And you know what I mean? Like, and that gives them the freedom to push like a faster cadence of releases. You know what I mean? Like, there are advantages to that strategy that they wouldn't have with a Justice League game. Like,
But I
I
think, and while it would have definitely taken more time, I feel like it would have been a better received and overall. I mean, what it remains to be seen how Suicide Squad will do in the future, but I feel like it definitely would have been better received if it was Justice League game, and I think the potential would have been like insane, even if it, even if it took longer. I feel like it would have been worth the wait, because I mean, it would be an open. The pitch would have been, okay, you like being Batman in the open world. Well, you can also be Superman in the open world, and I know I, for one, would have been all about it. I would have been jumping for joy. Like, I think the lack of diversity between the characters is like my biggest pet peeve of the game, because while I can appreciate it to a degree, I definitely think it leans a little too heavily into the same. Because even if you look at the talent trees, there's a lot of stuff that's just like, it's just a lot of overlap. There's not a lot of unique options and choices relative to where I think it could be. Whereas Avengers, for all its faults, they did a great job on those individual character kits, making every character feel like, oh, they could be in their own game. And that's why, despite how terrible the Avengers everything about so much about Avengers was, it endured. Surprising as it was, it endured, and it was because of that combat loop. And that's the one thing I worry about Suicide Squad. I know you don't know too much about how the other characters will play, but the traversal stuff is great, sounds great. But though I definitely even think that aspect could be better, because like I was thinking about how it felt to fly with Iron Man in Avengers versus how it feels to like fly with Deadshot. And it's like, yeah, it's awesome that there's no flight ceiling, but it's also awesome that after 5 seconds, you gotta your thing's on cooldown. You gotta find a building to run into, to run a wall to run up, so that you can keep going. And it's like, like how, like is when they bring in Mrs. Freeze, are they, is her ice thing going to be on a cooldown too? Like, you're going to be able to ride for a few seconds and then it's like, oh, time to fall down.
I hear you.
It's weird.
I just mean, like, I think it's its own set of problems. Like, then you run into conversations about, like, but I'm Superman. Why can I get punched by a Kalun if I'm Superman? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, there's always going to be that. But I felt, and we heard that in Avengers, like, oh, I'm not strong as the Hulk. But I felt like that was quickly, drowned out when people were like, literally just get good and were showing you how it was done. And I think the majority just appreciate it. Avengers just had a lot of other issues that.
But I mean, I feel like making a Justice League game invites a lot of those issues.
For sure, but
You know what I mean?
if anyone could pull it off, I feel like Rocksteady could have.
Well, they might still.
They might. I mean, who knows what's happening in future seasons? We might still be able to play as the Justice League. You never know.
Who's to say?
Who's to say? Wink, wink. Anything could happen. You never say never. You might wake up one day and there might be a new season update, and you find out that not only has the league returned, but there's a whole level where you're going to be controlling the league for a little bit, like Venom and Spider-Man 2.
Allegedly.
Who's to say? But I think that experience would have. There's obviously going to be risks. There's obviously going to be ways that it could go terribly wrong. But I feel like it would have been worth it, because I don't think they would have gotten nearly as much bad faith press as they did with the Suicide Squad, because it was like, okay, like the Suicide Squad, apart from Harley, this is not like a big brand, it's like, and then find out it's a looter shooter. Like, it's understandable why Arkham fans were initially like gamers in general don't like change, and this was just kind of like but what, that's not the thing that you do. And I feel like if they were going to go multiplayer, a multiplayer game where you could still play as Batman but also play as Superman would have gone a long way, and I think would have been easier for them to swallow, and there would have been a lot more effort to defend them, because it's like, because there are a lot, because you thought Batman fans were annoying. Like, there are a lot of people who are just every day begging, I want to play I want a Superman game, I want a Flash game, so I feel like if Rocksteady was going to give them that opportunity, and you had people whining, I just want a Batman game, why does it be multiplayer, they would get like run out every time. So that is the Harley.
Oh my god, I don't think you can show that.
Well, I just there you go. Little sneak peek at the Harley design. I can see. I see what you mean.
Yeah, there's like Harley in there and Gizmo and King Shark, and they're just used like they've used like just standing around concept art and just sort of like inserted them into concept art of a tank, just sort of like to illustrate the vehicle mechanic. And it's
Yeah.
like a old as mold UI graphic from prototyping that's still laying around.
Yeah, interesting design on and I think there are like heads for Harley where she's got more of the pigtail look. I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think that's a design we've seen revealed anywhere. Because
Yeah,
she has the modern pink and blue.
yeah,
So that does like date it to a certain point.
yeah.
And there's no I don't think that's from any game, but anyways. I'm curious if that's not like from whatever the WB Montreal project was.
Yeah. Now, do you think they're gonna, or have you seen any evidence that we're going to get a potential Arkham Asylum Harley outfit in the shop?
Like, I mean, from a data mining perspective, I haven't seen anything to suggest that, but I mean, they are kind of like they're taking their sweet time with the cosmetics a little bit.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, they definitely are.
we're
Yeah,
supposed to be doing this for years, so there'll be plenty of time for that.
hopefully they do make it those years. But
That's the question.
I definitely I feel like for sure I was saying this on Twitter, but season 1, I mean, we got if they don't have a King Shark Green Lantern and a Batman Who Laughs in the shop, like what are we doing here? like
Mhm.
like that would be insane to me if season 1 launches without anything like that. Like you got to have some bangers. Like season 1 is big. Like when I say throw everything out there, like Joker, you're dropping Joker. Like you got to have some crazy Joker skins, the ones people are going to be asking for and looking for. Like you got to have at least one of them.
I'm glad the classic skin is there.
Yeah.
Thank God for that, because that does seem to be the most attractive one.
Yeah, you gotta have the classic,
Assuming
but
it ends up in the store.
but I don't know about the Batman. I don't know if they're
The
going to do
Wayne Tech skins?
the Batman Who Laughs. I think
Oh, yeah, no,
I feel like they have to have that. Like
there's a lot of comic looks that are like real must-haves. I mean, that was one thing that Avengers learned pretty quickly was like,
yeah.
what do people want to buy?
Yeah, we don't want this slop that you are throwing in the shop. We want comic accurate and MCU skins. not your original slop. sorry.
I mean, like original skins can be really cool. Like,
I thought
there were
their Spider-Man design was really good.
there's room for that, but like it can't be the only thing.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
can't even really be the focus.
Yeah, people like, especially when you're dealing with comic book characters, you got to prioritize the looks that people want. Like I understand you have your vision, you want to do your thing, but you got to have prominently the stuff that people are expecting, the stuff people want to see. It's part of you got to get the customers what they want. It's part of the business.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even saying like a full Green Lantern set like it was suggested. At least King Shark, because he's
And
literally
that's an original thing, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
and it
great,
did a great
there's
job.
room for that, and we want it.
And it
But
was
like,
in the
yeah.
and it was in the game, so it
Mhm.
shouldn't be that hard to put it in. Or like I would imagine that had to have been the plan. Like, okay, we're gonna put this in the game, and then we're gonna sell it in the store. Like that had to have been the plan.
I hope so.
I would be stunned if it wasn't. but I mean, obviously, people have made it very clear that they do in fact want it as a skin. The rest, I'm not. I'm going to wait and see, because I've been patiently waiting. I've been saving my Lex coin. I learned this lesson from Avengers: never buy skins until the content drops, because you know they're saving the good stuff for the big DLC update. You know, they want you to spend money now, and so that you have to re-up later. I'm like, I'm not doing it. Plus, there hasn't been anything that's really caught my eye. Like do I need, like, I love the classic Harley skin, but do I really need the no mask version? Not really. It didn't really compel me.
Yeah, the only thing that I see in the shop that I'm like, ooh, is like the classic traversal cosmetics, you know, with like the little effects.
Yeah,
Those are cute.
yeah, but
I wish I could buy them separately.
yeah, that's the other thing I hope changes in the shop. Like I understand the appeal of bundles, you can drive up the price, but people are willing to buy stuff individually. Like just give people the option. like it doesn't, like, sure, people in theory you would make more money if people just bought the bundle, but people don't necessarily just want the bundle. They want
Yeah, that's it. Like the value proposition for me right now is like, if I could buy it separately, and it would be like what, like $5, or I can get the bundle for 12 with a bunch of shit that I don't want. And
exactly.
so I say no, I'm not buying it. Like I
Yeah,
don't want the bundle with all the crap that I'm never going to use. I would love
like,
that one item that I would buy for $5. So it's like, is that worth the trade-off for you? Because for me, no. Like,
yeah, I think that's the thing. Like they believe, oh well, maybe they'll think that, oh, we're getting a deal here. We're getting more than one of the head. It's like, no, like consumers are much more are savvy, at least in terms of how they spend their money. And there's is like if they look at it, it's like, they're not going to just be like, oh well, it's 3. I guess I have to get, no. It's like,
and it's hard to communicate too, because like you have like the classic bundle A and the classic bundle B, right? So we have the head and the body from the A bundle, but we didn't get the B, right? Like with the pre-order. So in the A bundle, there are color swatches that are exclusive to that. And in the B bundle, there are color swatches that are exclusive to that, right? But when you like preview them, you only see them on like the accompanying pieces. Well, it's like, well, what if I want that color swatch for the other one? You know what I mean? Like, I can't see that. I can't preview that in some way. It doesn't incentivize me to buy it. Like, I can only see it in that one rigid way. Like, I feel
yeah,
like if you could buy it separately, maybe you could like see it on what you have equipped, or like whatever customization for that
yeah,
look
for
you
sure.
have. That would
And
be, I think. But then it opens up the door of like, what if you buy the color swatch and you don't own the cost? You know what I mean? Like, they probably
yeah,
look at that like there's some cost prohibition there. I don't know.
I also know people also resented the idea that, hey, I spent $100 on the pre-order in part because I wanted those skins, and then I found out that I have to buy that if I want to get the rest of the skin, I have to buy it in the shop for every
Uh,
character. Every character. I don't like I thought when they put the shop up, they were gonna have like actual like original, like not even original, just actual like individual skins in just available ahead of the launch of the battle pass, not just, hey, that stuff you pre-ordered, well, here's some different colors.
yeah. Like, if you didn't pre-order the game, like then the shop is kind of interesting. But like if you did, there's just nothing
Yeah,
really in there that's like that enticing.
yeah, unless you want, like, maybe you see an emote that you're interested in, that
And
could be
like
cool.
honestly, yeah, my anticipation of the value proposition with the shop was like, oh, you buy a skin and like you get options for it, or you can unlock options for it, or whatever. Like if like a skin has a bunch of, like, say like, oh, the Joker classic skin comes out, right?
Right.
And you just buy it. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be the same as those bundles that are in the shop right now. So it has two variants, the A and the B, and you can get the cheap version where it's just that, or you can get the medium version that has that and color swatches, or you can buy the fancy version that has it and more color swatches and the traversal gear. but you only get the A version, then you have to get the B version. And like, what if you want to mix and match them? And it's like, that's more than I signed up for. You know what I mean? Like,
that gets to be a lot. especially because you mentioned there's going to be like a rarity system that they've already implemented with the cosmetics, where it's like, oh well, here's the Joker in this rarity, but this swatch is this rarity, so it's 1,500 Lex coin instead of 1,100. It's like, can we just stop the bullshit?
hey, like there had to be something, right? Like there had to be something. It was too good to be true that they're like, no FOMO, no like we're so friendly to the players, that there had to be one thing, and it's those goddamn bundles.
Yeah, and that's why, but that's like, in me personally, that's why I was kind of like, well, I want to wait and see till the actual season 1 comes, because I know that there's going to be cosmetics on the battle pass. Like they're going to be really good ones, because they want to sell that premium side, and you're going to be able to earn some free cosmetics, and they're also going to have Lex coin available on the battle pass. So
that was an interesting revelation.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, and plus, if you pre-order the game, if you got the deluxe, you get the token. So if you really fall in love with that battle pass, you could just have it for nothing. So that's why I wanted to wait and see, okay, what's going to be in the shop when season 1 drops, what's going to be on the battle pass, how much Lex coin can you earn. That's when I could kind of judge how the cosmetic situation is going to be. Now it feels just so premature, because it's like, okay, well, I understand people are annoyed, and the bundle thing is annoying, but it's like, I don't care about this stuff anyway. I'm just waiting for the battle pass to see. I mean, who knows? This stuff might actually be on the battle pass, like, for all we know. So I'm just like, let me just wait and see what's on the actual battle pass, what we can earn for free, what's on the premium track, how much is the premium track, and then you can have your think pieces about cosmetics. But because ultimately, as long as the actual content I care about is free, I can have some leeway when it comes to the cosmetics, because in general, I'm a person who has no problem dropping money on games that I'm playing and supporting. It's just if I feel like I'm getting value, I don't care about spending some on microtransactions. If I'm enjoying the game, I know I'm going to be actively playing it, especially since I'm a content creator and I'm actively making money off of the game anyway. So it's just like, I don't care. If I think it's good, I'll just grab it. To a regular consumer, would they want a $20 Batman Who Laughs skin for Suicide Squad with like 3 color swatches be a bit much? Yeah. Would I buy it? Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. And Billy B makes a good point about photo mode. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, what happened to photo mode? I swore that was going to be a thing.
Yeah, there is one internally. I don't know if they're planning on making it public or not, but it exists.
Yeah, because I heard there was. I remember, I think Jay told me, but it didn't end up in the game. So I imagine that has to come out with season 1, right?
I hope so. I mean, we have to see, like, that and more. I'm like, I got my eyes real tight on that. And more.
Yeah, the and more could mean a lot, or a whole lot of nothing. We'll have to see. But if best case scenario, that and more is photo mode and PvP. And some really cool cosmetics. But
I mean, I do think it's going to end up being the Wayne Tech suits, like the focus of the battle pass. And like, I think King Sharks is really nice.
But that sound like, but they didn't really blow you away though.
Yeah, like Harley's is okay. I've only seen a tiny bit of Joker's. I haven't seen the full model. Deadshot's is nice.
I feel like Deadshot is like the only one that has like consistently really standout cosmetics so far.
Yeah, they are pretty good, I must say.
Yeah, the Harley's classic is great, but for most part, like I feel like Deadshots is just better than everyone else's.
I mean, it really does represent the comic look extremely well, you know? Like,
Yeah,
I'm reading through, like, volume 1 right now, and, like, it's really hitting that for me to see it, like, in the game too, you know? It's such an
yeah,
iconic look.
yeah.
And Captain Boomerangs too. Like,
I rock. I mean, that's my main. I rock out with the boomer. I've been wearing a lot of the boomer Flash outfit, but I really do like King Shark's Twitch drop outfit. I think it's really cool. I didn't like Harley's, but King Shark's is really cool.
I think the underrated thing about the Twitch drop looks is the traversal cosmetic.
Yeah,
It's like I just keep like King Sharks is really good. It's just like this like bracelet, like it's kind of sick.
yeah, yeah. I thought it was great. Like as soon as because I literally didn't even qualify for the Harley Twitch drop. I watched people, but I didn't watch it enough because I was like, I don't care about. I looked at the. I've been so just underwhelmed by all of Harley skins, apart from the classic one. I was like, I don't care. I'm never. I just contented
I mean
myself that
that's the best part about having skins, right? Is like eventually they have a look for everyone that everyone
eventually.
can like, you know?
I feel like I'm just not going to be touching Harley, like especially after the Joker comes
You're
out.
benching her, eh?
I was like because I already was like, okay, I don't like 99% of her skins. She has the worst traversal in the game out of all of other characters. It's just like
I'm starting to see people do crazy shit with her traversal. Like the thing for me that it's tough for me to keep track of that's sort of preventing me from reaching that point is it's hard for me to keep track of where the damn drone is. Like
yeah,
when you're on the ground because I've
like
seen people like if like the wire, right? Like it's so physics based that if the wire like bends along the corner of a building, it sends you in the direction like from a
yeah,
physics perspective that you would expect to go. Like people climbing the rope mid swing to like change the trajectory. Like people are doing really cool things with it already. I'm like, man, I kind of suck. Like I'm watching higher tier Harley players doing really amazing stuff with the traversal specifically. I'm like, I'm
yeah,
slacking.
yeah. And I've heard people saying, "Oh, you got to give Harley a chance. You got to get used to traversal." And I put a lot of time in a Harley, maxed her out, got a good build on her. Practice. I'm doing all the animation cancels with the grapple and everything, and I'm just like, okay, it's just worse than boomerangs and king sharks, and even dead shots. It's like you have to practice really hard to get good with it, and it's still worse than king sharks.
I mean, I'm really excited to pick up King Shark. I'm so excited.
It's amazing, like because I was running burn with Harley, and I was just running around doing the thing, and then I just put the exact same build on King Shark. I'm like, oh, this is just 100 times better because I could just leap above the battlefield and spray with the minigun, and there's nothing anyone could do about it. Like you can instantly do exactly what you want to do. You don't have to worry about precisely moving the grapple and not running into the wall. Literally, it's like, okay, I'm King Shark. I want to go from here to over there. Okay, two buttons, leap. You're wet. You're like 60 meters in the air, and then you can just quickly swim in any direction, and you got the long range weapon. You're very safe. You can move however you want, no problems at all. And I'm just like, it's just better. And then I'm looking at the Joker's traversal, and I'm like, his looks just better than Harley's as well. And his traversal attack looks like the best in the game. Like they showed a little bit of it in the Insider. He literally like launches himself all the way up in the air,
Mhm.
and then just drops all these bombs and stuff on the battlefield. I'm like, that's better than everyone's.
I'm so excited to try. He looks so fun.
It was awesome. That's why as soon as I saw the Joker's gameplay, I'm like, I'm never touching Harley. I'm never touching this build again. I'm never touching Harley again, unless they just drop like this absolute banger Harley cosmetic, and I'm not touching that character after the Joker comes out. It's just not happening.
I mean, it speaks to, you know, the how far the traversal goes in terms of like diversifying the characters. You know, it's such a crucial part of their kit.
Yeah,
Defines so much of the gameplay. I
it,
like that about the system, honestly, I do.
I do. That's why I just wish it was less restrictive, because especially when because I've been perfecting my Deadshot build, so I've been playing a lot of Deadshot, and I'm like flying because I'm used to Boomer, and I'm flying around trying to dodge and weave, and I'm just like, oh, this is just bad, because you just run out of your fuel. Gets, the way it works is it gets overheated after a certain amount of time. So you can fly with the boots for about about 5 seconds, and then you have to L1 to do a little spin, which cools it down, and then you get another about 5 seconds, and then you can't fly at all. You're just slowly, you can L1 to hover, but you're just slowly drifting down, and you're basically a sitting duck. That's why you have to make sure you're positioning so that you're close to a wall or something, so you can quickly run up and reset the whole thing. And I'm just like, for a game that built so heavily into traversal, this increasingly looks like it's going to just be a bad idea. Like, if you're just having these characters, that's why like King Sharks is probably the best, arguably along with Boomer, because it's like, oh, he has super human abilities. He can just leap really far. You know, you don't have to worry about cooldowns. You're just like, oh no, you just leap really far, and and it's simple, effective. Boomer has a little more limitations. Like, he's a limit to how much he can run in a sprint, but he's got 3 dashes, which basically are effectively teleports. And at least that feels a little more freeing. But yeah, Deadshots, it feels a little more restrictive, and Harley obviously takes a lot more technical know-how because of how physics based and also slow it is.
I hear you. I'm curious if they don't end up doing perks or something
Yeah,
that play into like traversal cooldowns and stuff, you know?
because and that's the thing, they have perks like that, but it's like, okay, are you going to choose? Do you want to have more sprint speed? Do you want to sprint longer with Boomerang, or do you want something that's actually useful in combat? And it's it's like,
Oh, those are out?
yeah, and it's just like, eh. Like, you can modify a augment on like certain pieces to say, like, you can get like 10% reduced cooldown on
10%?
on Deadshot's jetpack. It's like, I'm like, this is just ass, bro. Just take it off. Just be like, okay, you know what? You have the speed forward. You can just run. It's not like you're going as fast as the flash of these enemies anyway. You can just sprint as much as you want. You can dash as much as you want. Because, like, for all of it, even though Avengers had the flight ceiling, I could fly around as much as I wanted. Like, they even by the end of it took off the requirements for the booster, so you could just boost however long you wanted. Even before that, I'm flying as Iron Man. I'm flying steadily, no interruptions, over the battlefield. I approach some enemies, they start shooting. I'm weaving and flying and and moving around. I'm like, oh, I feel like Iron Man. This is cool. I'm diving and weaving and shooting, and it feels like I'm in an aerial battle. And then I'm with Deadshot, and it's like you're doing that for like a second, and then you're just slowly plummeting to the ground. It's like, this is terrible.
You know, you've converted me, actually. I agree with you. I
Yeah,
agree with you. It is kind of a barrier to fun a little bit.
yeah, because they pitched this as like, oh, this is like Sunset Overdrive meets the Division, and we're all about the traversal and the movement and the combat, and you get to the actual traversal, and apart from King Sharks, it's just like, oh, it's just not. It's just kind of whoa, pump the brakes there, buddy. You're having a little too much fun with this traversal now. We need you to have a cool down, buddy. It's like, come on, bro, what is this? What do we,
I kind of hear you, actually. I kind of hear you.
like, I want to put I might just make a video and just post it on Twitter, just like a side by side comparison of me playing with Iron Man in flying versus versus Deadshot, just to illustrate how silly it looks, because it looks silly and it feels worse. Like like it's annoying, because I don't think it's because I don't see where the utility is. Like, I understand them not being, because I know Avengers didn't make them as fast for like engine purposes, but I can imagine the reason why they would just implement these cooldowns when they're having such a traversal heavy game. Like, if I'm running with Mrs. Freeze and I'm I want to slide through the city, making a ice on an ice board or something, I don't want to just suddenly drop out of the sky because oh, the meter ran. Like, what the fuck? Why is there a meter on an ice character? I just want to slide through Metropolis. Why is there a meter? why
You
why
make a good point.
why Deadshot has freaking Boomerang has the Speed Force? Why why am I running? Why am I? He's not even tired. Why am I just running? Just until the meter runs out, and just be like, oh, like, even at some points, if you throw the boomerang and there's like, and you put it too close to his body, like, instead of sprinting, because you have to aim at the ground to sprint, and instead of sprinting, he'll stumble, and then there'll be like a 5-second delay where the world gets a little slow and wobbly, and you can't move at normal speed or anything like that. It's just like, this is just silly. Just let it. Just, you gave us some cool traversal. Let us use it. like Harley can use the grapple on the drone one time before you have to time the double jump, so I can reset the cooldown on the like, what is this, bro? like, it's silly. It's silly. It's silly. That's why I was laughing when they compared that Harley clip to Spider-Man. I'm like, it's not like that. It would be like Spider-Man if as soon as you shoot your web for that first swing, you can't swing a second time. you have to double jump or wall run or cancel or grapple cancel in order to get momentum for a second swing. And it's just awkward and weird. And I don't know why it's in the game.
You've converted me, honestly. I agree.
So, but I didn't put I didn't go into detail, but I included that in the feedback thread that I made, because the more I play, the more it's just like, this is just unnecessary. like, especially with how aggressive the aggro is in like higher tier combat. It's like there's literally a mission in the incursions where there's like, without exaggeration, hundreds of projectiles flying at you at the same time, and you have to dodge all of that so you can land on a small platform and knock 4 enemies off of it so that you can shoot a crystal. And it's like, okay, well, this would help if I could, stay in the air for more than 10 seconds like on my Deadshot.
Yeah, honestly, Capte, I agree. This conversation is going to be coming up in the coming months. I'm calling it right now. And it does seem like where the discourse is going to end up, when we've had a little more time with the game, especially too, as we get more and more characters that sort of fall to that.
I'm ahead of my time. Like, because I'm not new to these type of games. I was a veteran of the Avenger experience. I put over 3,000 hours into that game. I'm up to mastery level 85, I think 86 on Suicide Squad. I put in a lot of hours, and I'm just looking at it. I'm just seeing the signs of like, this is going to be a problem later. That's why I wanted to get the feedback out now, so I could see it, and then I could see how they respond, because there's definitely room for improvement, but they seem at least open to, if not going on, like at least offering alternatives. Like I like the alternative solution of like he offered an alternative solution to making Boom like be, because the one of the things people kept complaining about was like, oh, the boom modifier, which is poorly implemented. Like, there's a similar modifier in Ghost of Tsushima Legends mode, where if you're playing the survival mode, one of the modifiers that could pop up for a wave is a eruption, where after every enemy dies, they explode. But there's like a build up to it. Like the enemy dies, they start glowing, you're like, okay, time to go. And then it blows up and you go about your day. But with Suicide Squad, the second an enemy dies, boom, huge explosion, wipes out all, no matter how much shield you have, all of it's gone. And that means, oh, the Suicide Strike ability, shield harvesting, can't use that. And that's like a big part of building Harley and King Shark builds, like melee, shield harvesting, like Suicide Strikes for every character. It's like, oh no, you just can't use that. And the only way you could use that is if you were using one of those defensive mods that they just nerfed to so so you can't do that. So the only one that can safely like use a suicide strike attack is Deadshot, and that's because even his suicide strike and harvesting are ranged attacks. So you're far enough away that you don't get hit with the explosion. Everyone else, you just can't do it. It is not an option. So he went in the blog, he mentioned, okay, one of the things they could do is shield harvesting and suicide strike doesn't trigger the boom, which I was like, boom, problem solved. Like that's a perfectly fine compromise. Like that's the main people complaining about, because it's like, okay, if it was like at least on a delay, you would have time to move after the suicide strike ended, but you don't. Like this, as second the animation is over for the suicide strike, boom, all your health and shield is gone. And it's like, well, this is silly. Like why would you put that in the game?
Well, the melee attacks too, like boomers and deadshots have range to them, so can they avoid the explosion?
That's the thing. Like Boomer and Deadshot can avoid everything. Boomer can avoid the boom if he does a shield harvest, because his melee attack is a ranged attack because he throws a boomerang. But his suicide strike is when he like cracks an enemy with a boomerang at close range at multiple angles, kicks them in the balls and stuff like that. So that's actually a close range attack. So which puts them right on top of the enemy as soon as they die, which means they blow up right in your face.
But Deadshot Suicide Strike doesn't get hit by it.
No, because Deadshot Suicide Strike is he jumps up in the air and shoots you with his wrist cannons and then flies away.
That's a huge balancing issue.
Yeah, it seems like a crazy oversight. So that's why I'm glad he at least acknowledged that, because a lot of people are like, yo, this boom modifier sucks. like you gotta do something about it. So that looks like to be the compromise they're going to make. They're going to basically say, all right, harvesting and suicide strike doesn't trigger the boom, but killing them by other means will, which is perfectly fine. Like you can easily position yourself to avoid them if you're shooting them or commonly using grenades or whatever. You can easily position yourself away from that, and then going for the suicide strike or like that's much better. So as long as they're willing to listen to the feedback and accept, like, oh, maybe we were wrong about this, I'm good. I have confidence going forward. We'll see what he does about the damage reduction, because that's a big one. Because in the blog he mentioned specifically like, oh, you should try these some additional defensive mods in augments, to help with the damage reduction to make up for the loss to the nerfs to those mods. And I'm like, no, they don't work. I have
Mhm.
I have defensive stuff and talents perk. I have all that on my build. It doesn't work. It never worked. The only thing that worked were those 2 defensive mods that you nerfed. And now because they give you damage reduction instead of invulnerability, they don't work at all. They don't work at all because damage reduction just doesn't exist. Like it just gets hard countered as soon by every enemy attack. It doesn't make any difference.
I gotta catch up. Oh my god, I'm so behind.
Yeah, you still in your beat. You still in. Oh my. Oh, that's right. You're gonna stream the rain. I'm not gonna spoil it, but I'll tell you that
Oh, I
the
know.
the Brainiac fight sucks.
Yeah.
Like all of the boss fights suck to agree.
I actually really enjoyed, like, every boss fight.
I
Honest
like
to God, I did.
I like Green Lanterns for what it was and Superman's. I like the build up to the Batman fights, but I don't like that inherently the design is that okay, we're going to give you all these abilities, all these weapons, and we encourage you to create all these interesting builds. And when you go to a boss fight, the only thing you can do is get a long range weapon and shoot, or use or counter. That's the entirety of all of them.
I mean, I had a good time. I can't lie.
Yeah, I had a decent time with the Green Lantern one. The Superman one was fun, trying to avoid all the nonsense. But once I got to the Brainiac fight and I found out it was basically just
Yeah.
a reskin of the Flash fight, I was like, ooh, I didn't like the Flash fight, and this one is worse.
Yeah, that I'm not gonna lie, it sounds, like, god awful, but I'll see it myself soon enough.
Good luck.
Thank you. Yeah,
uh,
this might end up like a rant stream, we'll see.
yeah. I'm caught. I would love to help carry you through it, but I kind of just want to see your reaction to it
No,
first.
no, I'm playing it single player until I finish the campaign for sure, like
Yeah, good. I want to see your reaction to it.
which has also been really nice too because apparently multiplayer's got problems or
Oh,
whatever, so it's,
oh,
like, been
oh,
nice to
oh,
avoid that.
oh, it's complete ass sometimes. It's like before Jay left, he popped into my stream, and we ended up having like an impromptu podcast because I wanted to run some because I wanted to test a new patch. So I was like, all right, let's run some incursion stuff. And I just put on the mission, and whenever we ran an incursion mission, we ran into a glitch where none of our attacks did any damage. And I was like, well, it's not my build because I literally was just playing this same thing solo. So, but when we joined up, I was like, what's going on? Like we had I think 3 players going, and we could do no damage. So we was like, okay, well, Jay said, okay, I ran into a similar issue where we couldn't do any damage against Brainiac, and then one of our players like disconnected, and then we started being able to do damage again. So I was like, all right, let's try that. So we dropped one and still couldn't do any damage. So we're just like, okay, well, so the only thing we could do is just play the normal open world Metropolis stuff. We just did that and ranted and talked for a little bit. But there's all sorts of problems. Even during that stuff, there's a glitch that you run into in multiplayer where your gun one of your guns stops being able to take your primary gun stops being able to accept ammo.
Mhm.
It's a glitch. I think there's a glitch that triggers sometimes when you fail to do a critical reload, and then your gun's ammo resets to 0, and then
Oh.
every time you try to pick up ammo, it doesn't go to the gun.
Huh.
Yeah, it happens every time I play multiplayer.
Really?
Literally every time.
Oh. Oh. Yeah, I played a little with Gapped, like, that's really been, like, my sole multiplayer experience, and it was fun, but, like, I wanna do, like, viewer stuff, like, "Oh, yeah, jump in," like, all that kinda stuff.
Yeah,
"Oh, that sounds like it's gonna be interesting."
yeah, because it's definitely a game you want to play with other people, but it's a game that also doesn't want you to play with other people.
Mm.
That's why I can understand the frustration, among a lot of people because it's like they really wanted that stuff to get fixed, and then I mean, there's still people who can't even log in. So I can only imagine how annoying it is. But yeah, for me, it's like, yeah, I just play mostly solo out of necessity because
Mhm.
because I'm like, well, if I play this with other people, I'm not going to be able to clear this probably because we're not going to do any damage. So I'm just going to do this solo, which sucks. I would love to climb ranks with other people, but yeah, if you're going to run into that glitch, I'm like, I don't know. So it's kind of a dice. It can be kind of a dice roll. Hopefully that next update that they're working on.
Well, you'll have to show me. You'll have to show me, like,
Yeah,
literally, because like we talked a big game about, oh, we finally get to play together, you know, because of crossplay and all this stuff, like with the group that we used to hang out with, right? Like,
yeah, we're gonna
so
do it. Like I have no problem playing with other people. I'm just letting you know it might get bad. It might
yeah,
get,
I know. I can't wait to see.
it can be entertaining, but very annoying. Like,
Yeah, you got to do like a melee focused build just to alleviate the ammo issue.
yeah, but if unfortunately if you're playing an incursion, uh, your
The
melee
boom.
gonna literally blow up in
Yeah.
your face. I was like, oh, what the fuck is? I was like, oh, because I was like, oh, King Shark has some really cool melee, and then I started doing it, and I'm like, oh no, you can't do any of this. You're gonna die. And the only way I was able to do, and it was actually fun. Like I was playing a burn version of King Shark before the patch, and I was like not just mowing down enemies, but I was like, oh, because of the fire protection from the defensive mod, I could just mix it up and do a lot of melee stuff. And then after the patch, it's like, oh nope, can't do this anymore.
Oh.
back to the drawing board. It's yeah, it's not ideal. So I'm looking forward to those changes. In particular, I'm looking forward to the patch that is supposed to actually fix the connection stuff. God, I hope it
I
fixes.
imagine there'll be many of those.
Oh yeah, but I'm hoping. I hope at least the players who can't log in will be able to log in, because
Yeah, that's wild.
that's bad. Like if you spend $100 on a game and you can't play it, I would be furious. Especially if you bought it from the PlayStation Store, because I don't think they let you refund games if you download them.
I mean, frankly, they're lucky it's not a bigger disaster for them PR wise. Like, really, like they
Yeah,
should thank their lucky stars that this isn't like an IGN
yeah,
article right now.
yeah. It is all the focus has been on Kevin Conroy and the death of the Justice League. No one's really paying attention to the technical stuff except us
Yeah,
that are
they
actually playing it so
really,
far.
really should consider themselves lucky about that.
Yeah, right now no one's even like talking about it, for the moment. They're just I think everyone's just they took their pound of flesh, and now they're just saving up for the season 1 Joker drop.
Yeah. What do you think they'll say about that? Make your prediction.
Well, I have heard, I know what the culture warriors are going to say.
That he's gay.
Yeah, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, here we go, walk on, the punishment to the agenda,"
Yeah.
So there's gonna be that. There's gonna be a lot of that. Uh, but besides that, I think it's going to depend on just how successful it is in terms of, like, is it playable? Is there substantial new content? What's going on there? That if are there technical problems, did they fix those? That's going to be like the main point of interest right there. If it's good and they fixed a bunch of stuff, people are enjoying the content, they're probably going to try to steer clear of it. Maybe Paul Tassi will probably say something nice or come around on it, but the haters will probably just recycle the same stuff at that point, and then the culture warriors will stick to the Joker stuff. And
There is one line I know that's gonna send them.
yeah,
It's gonna be in every clip. I tell you, it's gonna be in every fucking clip. It's
yeah.
when he gets neck bombed.
Oh, okay. I heard the audio that you posted where he talked about what he did to his old friend. I was like, oh, the voice sounds incredible in that
Yeah,
clip.
honestly, he's got a lot of range. Like, it's a younger Joker, so the idea
Yeah.
is like he's not as established in that sort of Joker routine that you would expect, but like that theatricality
Isn't
and
there
then that like
isn't
shocking sort of
doesn't he twerk
malice.
at some point?
No, he was not twerking. There's one screenshot that people were sending around. He literally just puts his hands on his knees.
Oh, and they
Like
just took that.
he
They just took
literally, like it's a video. You can watch it. He doesn't twerk. There's no motion in the ocean at all.
so the only thing they're going to focus on is the gay thing. So that's
It's the gay thing.
yeah,
But
that's what it
believe me, like
is.
like when he gets neck bombed, like when he's about to get neck bombed, he says like very like erotically, like put it in me. And it's like
Oh,
supposed to be like creepy as fuck, right?
yeah,
Because he knows what it is.
yeah.
Like he's just in it for the chaos. But that's gonna be a whole thing.
Oh,
But I mean,
definitely.
that's funny. And it, like I in a weird way, I think it's funny.
It sounds funny, but yeah, I know how it's going to be spun
Yeah.
by certain grifter channels, but that's
Oh
fine.
yeah.
If that's the worst thing, I say if that's the worst thing that comes out of season 1, Suicide Squad is going to be doing okay.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of good stuff there. Like I'm God, I just hope QBK is in it.
Oh please! I just hope it worked. Like, can we just go back to like I hate
Oh my
that
god, I hadn't
I'm
even
hate
considered that angle.
I hate that I'm back here because it was like that. It eventually got that point to Avengers. It was like, I don't care what the content is at this point. I just want it to work. I just want a DLC that doesn't break anything. I just want this stuff to be fixed. I there are so many like I enjoy the game, but if these problems aren't fixed by season 1, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a real
Yeah.
problem because there's a
And that's the
lot of
thing about
problems.
like their release cadence being like every 6 weeks, you know what I mean? Like that's a new spotlight on your issues like pretty
Yeah.
frequently.
Yeah, like if they deliver, this is going to be a dub. Is going to be great, and I'm going to be celebrating. But if yeah, if it doesn't even work, if their login problems are still there, if multiplayer is still broken, then it's going to ruin pretty much any good press that they were going to get out of this, and it's going to definitely
Yeah.
make some players reconsider their commitment their commitment going forward. If it's that's why I'm hoping there's some redeeming stuff. Like I definitely just hope it works, but outside of that, I know like just looking at the character, I know the Joker's going to be very fun to play.
Mhm.
I know that from what I've heard, it's going to be some really good stuff in the performance. I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to that PvP mode. I'm looking forward to seeing the battle pass and was like there's so much there that like finally new incursion missions. So we're not playing the same 3 on a loop. Like 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 there's a lot of potential there.
Like a
And
content refresh every 6 weeks, like that's a very compelling proposition,
yeah, yes, fans, and on an actual roadmap.
Right?
That's great. That's why I was like, okay, I'm all in. Just deliver. That's why I'm very patient because they've been responsive. They've been communicating about the technical issues and have been willing to make changes and listen to player feedback. Like Lejeune had brought up a point to the game director about one of the ways they can make the boss battles outside of just better boss battle design, which I also forwarded to them. Just have incentivizing you to play those boss battles more by introducing like
Oh yeah, the themed
specific gear, like you fight Green Lantern for a chance at like a specific Green Lantern theme piece or something. That's cool. Speaking of Lejeune, did I just summon Lejeune?
I thought that's why you brought him up too, because he had
No,
just shown up in chat before you said that.
no, I was literally just stuck because I was literally just thinking about the feedback, and I was like, yeah, that stood out because that's a cool idea to have like Justice League theme sets and stuff tied to the bosses, so to incentivize you to play them again. And I was like, oh, that was a good idea. Then June just chops it. That's
Ugh.
it. That's actually hilarious. But yeah, he was absolutely. But yeah, the game director was well and listen, and it seems like we definitely can get some improvements going forward, and that's a good sign. That's at this point, like others would be like, oh whoa, we're getting a lot of backlash. Let's stop talking. Let's bury our head saying it's just like, oh no, there's like, oh, we understand. You're right, you're making some good points. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. Yep, this is why, this is that. Yep. Like that's encouraging. So as long as they keep doing that, I'm still here.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed for season 1. But I think we can wrap it up for this week. I know Miller's got he's got a date with Brainiac.
Yeah. So I'm finally gonna. I mean, there's that Easter egg with the credits. I'm like, do I do that?
I kind of think you should.
But it's an hour and a half.
That is a lot, though. You could pull. You can do something else until then.
Yeah, I do tend to talk during the stream, so like maybe we'll do that during the credits. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, an hour and a half. That's like 30 minutes less than the Spider-Man 2 ending credits. So and I sat through that, so he'll probably be okay. And because there's at least a nice little reward at the end of it. So yeah, a little something to do. So thanks again so much to Miller for taking time out of his busy day. I hit him up last minute to replace JayShockblast, and I think he did a tremendous job of replacing JayShockblast. So if this ever would become a permanent arrangement, I think I would be just fine. though we love Jay, of course. But
I'll definitely be more researched if I'm ever needed again. Yeah, I literally woke up like 2 hours before the stream started.
W Miller, I literally wasn't sure if I was going to have the stream or not. I was like, this hinges on Miller's response. and then he's like, yeah. I was like, okay, good. So you could always count on Miller, and it's always an amazing show whenever he comes on. We definitely glad that he's been our most frequent guest.
I'm glad.
If possible, we would love to make him a permanent third member, but
not the third member.
Like if your schedule allowed it, we would absolutely have you as the permanent third co-host. like no question about it. So that ever changes, let us know. we love to have
think
you.
About it.
So Jay will be back next week from his secret business trip. He'll be able to share the details with what he was doing.
Jay's gonna break NDA next week. Everybody tune in.
look out for that. We're gonna bait him into doing it. So appreciate everyone hanging out. Make sure, if you're not already, I mean, you absolutely should be, but if you're not, go over to Twitter right now, go over to Twitch right now. That's Miller with 8 M's, Miller Ross on Twitter. Go do it right now. Yeah, you just
Google me.
He's everywhere. He's very popular. He's very famous for a good reason. The biggest and best upcoming leaker in the industry. I don't know if you're not following him on Twitter. At the very least, you're missing out. Do it right now. I'm so serious. Check him out. He'll be streaming Suicide Squad on Twitch. So if that is something you're interested in, definitely go do that. Tonight was the last time for Twitch drops for King Shark, but the next round of drops will be coming live in a few hours. So you're gonna need to watch someone on Twitch. Might as well be Miller. So we're gonna wrap it up. So I appreciate all of you. I'm Sadot the Gamer.
I'm Miller.
Zip it up, zip it out. Peace, my naysayers.